What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a special edition of Blazers Uprise Live. The Blazers have made their first move of the 2025 offseason, and it is maybe the most shocking trade I've ever seen them make. The Blazers trade Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday. Anfernee Simons and 2 second-round picks to the Celtics for Jrue Holiday. I haven't even had a chance to digest this trade. We're going to do it live. I don't know Eric's thoughts on this. I'm looking forward to hearing that. And you guys can let us know what you think of this move in the live chat and the chat poll. We got the chat poll going. You can grade the trade. This came out of left field. Out of left field. We had talked about Anfernee Simons' trade packages, but it got to the point that I expected Anfernee Simons to be back and to continue having the debate about, will the Blazers ever move off Anfernee Simons so that Scoot Henderson can start? We've been having that argument for a long time now. It turns out they'll move off Anfernee Simons, but not so that Scoot Henderson can start. No, they'll move off Anfernee Simons so we can have this debate with another guard, a much older guard, a more expensive guard. Really fascinating move, and I'm still wrapping my head around this. Eric, what's going on, man? You have been one of the biggest Anfernee Simons fans, but Anfernee Simons is no longer a Blazer. What are your thoughts about what Joe Cronin did tonight in trading Anfernee Simons and 2 second-round picks for Jrue Holiday?
It's weird. Like, this trade is weird. Jrue Holiday's a Blazer again. Like, I don't know, man. This really caught me off guard, man. First of all, Anfernee Simons, wish him the best in Boston. I think that's a really good spot for him. He's obviously going to get a lot of opportunity to score the ball with Tatum being out a year. And I don't think Boston makes this trade if they don't think highly of him. So that's good for him. But yeah, it's just it's I don't know, man. Like, I'm still trying to like what is his contract? Like, how why did we added salary? Like, I guess if they're thinking extension with Anfernee, that it would be about this price anyway. So
yeah. Well, Jody Allen's almost out of town, so now they'll start taking on money, right? All jokes aside, this is like 2 separate things kind of coming full circle in just a weird way. Of course, the Blazers traded Dame for Jrue Holiday and some assets, and now they trade Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday went from Milwaukee to Portland to Boston and back to Portland. And there was also the offseason, 2 offseasons ago, where you talked about the Boston Celtics liking Anfernee Simons 2 offseasons ago, and now he's, I guess, finally a Boston Celtic. That kind of comes full circle. Shout out to those of you who have been watching us for a while that know what we're talking about a couple offseasons ago. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We're going to break down this trade. We're going to talk about it from both the Blazers and the Celtics point of view. So if you're a Celtics fan, we'll give you our thoughts on your newest Celtic, Anfernee Simons, who's going to replace some of that scoring punch the Celtics are going to be missing without Jason Tatum. Also, at the end of the stream, we will break down Game 7 of the NBA Finals. We're going to have probably a 3-4 hour live stream. So we're going to have you covered from every aspect. And hopefully Erica turns off the ringtone, because it sounds like your phone's getting blown up right now.
Yeah.
Sounds like your phone's getting blown up. So I found out about this trade. I basically got 2 texts. 2 texts from my guy Borna and my guy Wardy. One was go live in all caps. And I forgot what the other one was, but it was also in all caps. So I knew the Blazers made a trade. Whenever I get a text, go live in all caps, I know the Blazers made the trade. And I had no idea what to expect. It was like, okay, Anfernee Simons trade maybe. I did not expect Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday. So I guess the first thing to talk about here with this trade is Jrue Holiday's contract. So let me pull up the exact details here. Let me go to Spot Track. So Jrue Holiday,
Spot track isn't working for me for some reason.
maybe it's because they update things so fast. So let's start with Anfernee Simons. Anfernee Simons was entering the final year of his second contract, and there was a lot of debate around the Blazers potentially extending him this offseason. And I thought that's what was going to happen. That was my inkling, right? And that was your inkling as well, is we expected Anfernee Simons to be back in a Blazer uniform next year and to get potentially an extension. The Blazers instead just replace his role, well, not his role because they're completely different players, but replace his place in the rotation with Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday, I believe, has 3 years left on his contract. Spot Track's working now. So this upcoming season, Jrue Holiday makes $32.4 million. In 2026-2027, that goes up to $34.8 million. And in his final year, when he's going to be 37 years old, he's going to be making $37.2 million. Now, Jrue Holiday's a good player. He's, of course, a terrific defender. I am a bit baffled as to the Blazers getting him kind of at the tail end of his career. The Blazers, of course, being a young team, we heard Blazers broadcasting push all season last year, pushing the narrative about how the Blazers are one of the youngest teams in the league. Of course, the Blazers win 15 more games. They win 36 games last year, and this was a young team on the come-up. And Anfernee Simons kind of fit the Blazers' timeline. However, we talked about trading Anfernee Simons simply because you have Shaedon Sharpe and you have Scoot Henderson waiting in the wings. Now they trade him for Jrue Holiday, who's going to start next season. I would be shocked if he doesn't. I mean, he's not the type of player you bring off the bench. He's the type of player you have locking up opponent guards in the backcourt. So you're still probably going to have Scoot Henderson off the bench, or maybe it's Shaedon Sharpe. But do you want Jrue Holiday and Scoot Henderson playing together? I don't know. So I'm just baffled as to getting a player of his age making that amount of money with the position that the Blazers are currently in. He's a terrific defender, so it seems like the Blazers are going all in on that side of the ball. I mean, having him and Tamani Kamara and potentially Donovan Clingan if they trade DeAndre Ayton. I mean, that could be a terrific defensive unit. But one of the biggest flaws with this team is their shooting. Trading Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday is only going to hurt that. Now, Jrue Holiday shot 35% from three last season, was 43% the year before. So, it's on decent volume. So maybe it's not that much of a downswing there. Holiday's a 37% career three-point shooter, but Anfernee Simons shoots a ton of threes on a ton of volume. This is just a baffling trade from the timeline standpoint, but maybe it's a statement just about who the Blazers want to be in terms of just having every player in the rotation be solid to good defensively. Hopefully Shaedon Sharpe can catch up in that regard. This just seems like an all-in move on their identity. They're not giving up picks, so it was just a straight-up swap.
They gave up 2 seconds.
I don't care about seconds. They trade them for cash anyway. I'm just confused as to the timeline aspect of it, Eric, because I don't think the Blazers are going to be ready to contend next year, especially in what's going to be an absolutely loaded Western Conference. If the Blazers were in the East, I would understand this trade a lot more, given how wide open the East is with the unfortunate Achilles injuries that have happened to Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Halliburton. But they're in the West, so can the Blazers actually win a playoff series next year? Does trading Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday help them do that? Probably not. So I'm very curious to hear what Joe Cronin has to say about this move, because it's a very strange one.
Yeah, so people are correctly pointing out, I think Jrue Holiday's 27-28 contract is non-guaranteed or a team option. So
it's a player option according to Spot Track.
Is it?
Yes, according to Spot Track, it's a player option. So unless Spot Track has it wrong,
most people are saying it's a team option.
Yeah, I'm looking at Spot Track right now. 2027, 2028, 37 years old, player option for $37.2 million.
Yeah, we'll have to get clarification on that. Everyone in chat is saying it's a player option. So
A player option or a team option?
oh, player option. Yeah. So
I thought you said they were saying it was a team option.
well, now they're saying player. Yeah. So
Yeah.
player. Yeah.
It's 3 years. I mean, the cap's going up. That's what people are going to use to justify it. But it's like, if you can't get rid of Jeremy Grant in 2027, 2028, you're paying Jeremy Grant and Jrue Holiday a combined like $75 million to probably be bench
now, right?
player. Yeah, it's just confusing. My guess is like, here's my best guess. They want to be a playoff team next year. They want to be as competitive as possible next year. They feel like Jrue Holiday is an upgrade over Anfernee Simons for next year. But then also maybe they view Jrue Holiday as a good mentor for Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe even defensively. And with him getting up there in age, then Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson are the backcourt of the future. And they basically, Jrue Holiday gets shuffled out because of his age, like gets shuffled out in a year or two. And then that's the backcourt of the future. That's my best guess as to the logic behind this trade. But we'd have to hear from Joe Cronin, man. We'd have to hear from Joe Cronin. Let me look at the results of this chat poll too, because I have not been keeping track with this chat. Poll.
Yeah, he's gonna say champion pedigrees on 2 of the last 6 or 5 championships. I don't know what it is, but yeah. So, but in my opinion, he started to show some deterioration last year.
Yeah.
Missed 20 games. Not that we've been the healthiest team anyway, so we can't necessarily say that, some of that's due to sitting people on purpose or whatever, but it felt like, everyone knew the Celtics were going to probably need to cap dump him and possibly or Porzingis. And I don't know. For all the people saying he's not going to start, like, would you really put it past Chauncey to not start an experienced championship defensive guard over Scoot Henderson? Like, are you guys crazy? Like, they're just going to justify this as, like you said, more of a win now move. But I don't know if he's more of a winning player anymore than Anfernee even. So I don't know. Like, obviously he's a winning player. He's a really good player. If he plays like he did in those championship years. So, and as you know, Tori, I think you feel the same way. Mentors should not be making like close to max money. We've been in favor of the last few years since it was clear we are going to trade Dame or Dame asked out, however you want to phrase that. We have been of the opinion that Joe Cronin has not managed the cap well for a rebuilding team and took advantage of teams that need to cut salary. And this seems like the type of move we should have been compensated for doing, and then adding a Jrue Holiday type player to the roster, but also getting some sort of bonus for doing so. And instead it feels like we kind of just got nothing for Anfernee and traded him for a different player that's going to maybe cause some of the same issues in terms of rotation and things like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So 36% of respondents to the chat poll graded a D or an F. 25% graded a C for the Blazers. 28% graded a B, and 11% graded an A. Here's the problem. So I saw a comment in chat. Jake Fisher is basically saying this is a move for the Blazers to try and make the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
This is the problem. The Blazers...
saying the Blazers are keeping Jrue for the record, unlike last time.
The Blazers rebuild is basically ending with the sole goal of just squeaking into the playoffs. That's the problem. Because this move does not help the team in 2 to 3 years. if anything, this move hurts the team in 2 to 3 years. Like, you could have gotten back potentially a first-round pick that could have been a young part of your core moving forward for Anfernee Simons. Maybe, before the Magic traded for Desmond Bane, we were hoping for the 16th pick, for example. Now, that asset isn't going to help as much next year as Jrue Holiday, more than likely, but 2, 3, 4 years down the line, maybe you draft a gem, and it really maximizes things when the Blazers' core is ready to actually win playoff series. I still don't think their core is ready to actually win playoff series. And this was my biggest worry about the rebuild. And this is what I was trying to warn people, too, with the types of moves the Blazers were making, hanging on to the vets, not cashing in Jeremy Grant when they potentially could have last offseason, is the Blazers were not operating with this rebuild like a team that was trying to accumulate assets and accumulate a bunch of young talent. They accumulated some, of course, but they weren't acting as a team that was trying to build for a window 3 to 5 years from now. They acted as a team that was just trying to get back to relevancy as soon as possible. My biggest worry is that process ends up with the Blazers stuck in between being able to contend and being able to get a high enough draft pick to actually draft a true stud that could be a difference maker, right? Potentially a star at the top of the draft. And it kind of feels like this move is the exact type of move to kind of get the Blazers stuck back in that position, because you're going to be maybe a little bit better next year. But as Jrue Holiday turns 20, or as he turns 36, 2 years from now, are the Blazers going to be better 2 years from now because of this move? Are they going to be better 3 years from now because of this move? Yeah, probably not.
Absolutely not.
The Blazers could have had potentially like $70 to $90 million of cap space next offseason just by letting Anfernee Simons retire, and they could have expire and letting him walk in free agency or trading him for an expiring contract and an asset. The Blazers could have had a ton of flexibility to trade for these types of players in next year's offseason while maybe getting an asset for Anfernee Simons. Just feels like they just straight up did that a year early without getting the asset. So it's very, very strange trade. Very strange trade. It's a fun trade. Like I'm not here to complain because I've been asking.
You'd be happy, yeah.
I mean, I've been asking for them to trade Simons, but the only reason is because they have Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. This doesn't really open up a starting spot for Scoot Henderson or Shaedon Sharpe, but I don't know. It'll be fun to see Jrue Holiday in a Blazer uniform, I guess. Hopefully he's not completely washed, because this trade could really end up backfiring. If Jrue Holiday declines next year, this could quickly become just a blatantly bad contract that you're on the hook for 3 years. For 3 years. You're already on the hook for Jeremy Grant's bad contract for 3 years. We've seen this team trade for DeAndre Ayton on a max contract. I'm a little confused as to the cap management from this team. And I've been confused ever since Joe Cronin took over. I've been confused about the way he manages salaries and manages the cap. And this doesn't put that to bed at all.
I'm pretty sure this will prevent us from being able to use the full mid-level exception now, too. I think that makes our salary back where it's close. We're pushing the tax line again to where we won't be able to do that and stay under the first apron. And
yeah,
we know we're not going to the tax this year, so.
I see a comment, Tori, you got your wish and it's horrible, be real. I did not wish for this. I did not, this isn't me getting my wish. I never once sat here and was like, you know what, maybe the Blazers could trade Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday and that would be fun. We knew Jrue Holiday might get traded, and the Celtics are trying to save money. But they also get younger too. I think this is a great trade for the Celtics because they have all these terrific defenders around Ant. They're going to be fine. They needed some scoring punch without Tatum. I think this is a really good trade for Boston, assuming they're able to re-sign him. But even then, even if Ant walks, this Jrue contract could become a legitimately bad contract in a year's time. And the Celtics were up against the second apron, above the second apron with a new ownership group. And going into this offseason, it hasn't been a secret. They're going to try to duck the second apron. This Anfernee trade helps them do that while also replacing Holiday's minutes with a guy that they can still be a really good defense with him on the floor. And that's kind of been the issue with Simons, is just the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, great shooter. I think he'll fit in Boston's style of play pretty well. So, yeah.
For the guy that keeps saying we're going to trade for Cooper Flag, that is 100,000% not happening.
Don't we got too many viewers for you to respond to troll comments, because that's a troll comment. That is absolutely a troll comment.
But like Jrue is saying, Jrue will be sent out. I'd be shocked if he stays in Portland. All the reports right now are saying that Jrue is. We made this trade for Jrue Holiday. We want him to be a Blazer. So, if you're going to be disappointed about that, I think you're going to be disappointed, because it sounds like they are trading for Jrue Holiday. Why would they just make this move without involving a third team before they make the move? It wouldn't make sense. This is a trade for Jrue Holiday. He's not getting rerouted.
Yeah. It's funny because I was talking about, the Blazers, if they want to be decent next year, they have to have a good defense, and I wasn't sure a starting lineup with Anfernee, Simon, Shaedon Sharpe, and DeAndre Ayton was going to be above average defensively. Like, those three guys are not good defenders. I mean, you solve that, and you insert Jrue Holiday into the starting lineup. You have him, Tamani, Denny. I mean, at this point, it makes even more sense to start Donovan Clingan now, because you're going all in on defense. You're going all in on defense. That's what this trade is. There's no other justification. Jrue Holiday is not a better offensive player. He's not a better contract. And he's 10 years older than Anfernee Simons. So the only justification for this move is we want to be a good team next year, and we're going to try and be a top 5 defense.
Well,
they have a better chance at that now, but it's all right, so start Clingan then. Start your potentially elite rim protector then.
Dude, is Jrue gonna kill Ayton?
Yeah, we'll see. How many screens will Ayton not call out before Jrue Holiday kills him? So
Brett Siegel says more moves are expected from both teams, as Celtics are made an apron team, but do not save enough chunk of money for 25-26.
Yeah. This is the first of many moves.
For Portland, they relocated Holiday once after the Bucks trade, and will look to do so again. So he's conflicting. Portland will be keeping their options open regarding Holiday. League sources said multiple teams had expressed interest in Holiday this offseason, most notably the Kings. No final decision has been made if he will remain in Portland or be flipped, sources say.
Yeah, so I'm not going to rule out them potentially trying to flip him. I just don't know why it would have been a two-step move, unless for some reason the Blazers needed to make this first step of this trade before the draft, but I have no idea why that would be the case.
Right. I mean, I guess it could be one of those July 6th trades that they basically have 2 weeks or whatever to figure something out trade-wise.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to be in the new league or not. It feels like the Blazers have enough room to make the trade right now. But why not wait to just announce that as the whole part of the trade? Why would you trade for him not knowing what you're doing with him?
I mean, my guess, I don't know, because here's the thing. You can keep this trade under wraps and work on flipping Jrue Holiday, right? I don't really know why it needs to be a two-step process if they are looking to flip him. I think maybe it's something where if they keep Jrue Holiday, they like him more for next year, so they pulled the trigger, but they're going to be open to what's out there for Jrue. It would be kind of funny if we did this again with Jrue Holiday after we did it, trading Dame for him and then flipping Jrue. Maybe we flip him back to Milwaukee for Dame. That would be funny.
Okay,
let's do that.
Cronin trading for Dame would be crazy. I don't think it'll ever happen. But also Dame.
I'm joking.
If they're trying to make the playoffs, Dame's
Yeah, I know. I'm
pretty much
joking.
out.
I'm
No,
joking. Yes.
People in chat are saying the same thing. I'm not saying it to you.
Oh, well.
Like I know you are, but
Yeah.
and so here's the thing though, like when you make this trade, it makes it harder. Like I don't think Jrue matches Sabonis because Sabonis makes 40 something million, right? And so it makes it harder to, unless the only thing I can think of is if we're like upstepping Tory. So like Anfernee's contract doesn't match him, but you trade for someone making a little more and that player matches him.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the case.
But just with the expiring contracts they have, I just don't really see the need for them to upstep like that. But that's like the best justification for it needing to be a two-step process is like if you make it a 3-team trade, you're trading out Ant and getting back somebody that Ant doesn't match. But instead, if you separate and trade Ant for Jrue, and Jrue makes more money, now you can match more money by trading Jrue out in a separate trade. So Jrue is making $32.4 million. The Blazers can bring back $39.9 million from Jrue Holiday. They can bring back $7.5 million more. Now, the Blazers, according to Keith Smith, are $6.6 million beneath the luxury tax line. So taking back $7.5 million would put them over the luxury tax.
Yeah.
And them going into a sale, they're not going to be over the luxury tax this season. Yeah. Like I would be absolutely shocked. It just doesn't make sense when you're trying to sell a team, unless you're a contender like Boston, right? The Blazers are.
And then, so AP says like we could splurge in free agent if we let Simons expire, but Portland free agent being the plan, like LOL. The new CBA makes it free agency doesn't really matter in terms of cap space. It's setting up your cap to take advantage of teams that need to clear it and adding assets for basically free for taking on contracts and stuff like that. That's, in my opinion, the best way to utilize cap space in this new CBA. And so you can still, if you have cap space, you can still go after free agents. It doesn't mean you can't get lucky and get one every once in a while, but it's not like counting on that. It's setting yourself up to do stuff. And I mean, I guess the Blazers could flip it, but it because you can't combine salary now if you trade for him for 60 days or whatever. So, and honestly, I mean, let's look at what's happened in the past. We trade for Jeremy Grant. We stay in the draft and draft sharp. And that was pretty much our offseason, right? I mean, I guess we signed Gary Payton. But then like last year we trade for Denny on draft day and then we draft Klingon, and that's our whole offseason. So would it be shocking if we make this trade and draft at 11 and that's our offseason because we're not going to really be players anymore?
I mean, I don't know what to expect because we didn't expect this. Like, we didn't expect this. I truly got to the point where I thought Anfernee Simons was going to come back to Portland next season. Like, I truly believed that. And obviously I was wrong, but let me respond.
Was this simply do a favor to Anfernee? Get him to a good situation? Like, is that what we did?
And we already did a favor
for. Feels like it.
So we're doing a favor for Ant, and we already did a favor for Jrue by trading him to Boston where he won a ring. So now we're like rescinding that favor and bringing him back.
Yeah,
is that what this is? I'm reading some of the comments in chat. Like, there's a comment, "Oh, Jrue will be a good sixth man for 2 years." It's like, Jeremy Grant should be coming off the bench. Yes, he's a worse player than Toumani Camara and Denny Avdija. If Jrue Holiday is also coming off the bench, why are you paying like $70 million to bench guys that are going to be very difficult to trade? Like, it's just weird. It's just weird. And you can make the argument, oh, yeah, the young core, you got guys on rookie contracts. You got Denny on a great contract. It's like, so you can pay your third guard this much money. I've always been in favor of using how cheap Denny's contract is and the Blazers having young players on cheap contracts. I've always been a fan of gaining flexibility and then using that flexibility to try and accumulate assets or get players, trade for salary that a team's trying to dump, etc. But the Blazers have never really been about that, and they've never been about trading players for picks, man. Like, this is just the perfect proof that Joe Cronin and the Blazers front office do not want to trade players for draft picks. They'd rather trade Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday before that, right?
Because you couldn't have gotten like 1/4 of the Bane package, like seriously, like one pick, right? That's all you're asking.
So the Kings
would have been happy with 1 first, right?
Yeah. The Kings supposedly have interest in Jrue Holiday. According to Brett Siegel. What's up?
Malik Monk, you were a Portland Trailblazer?
Malik Monk, yeah. Could you get Malik Monk in a pick out of the Kings? I mean, Malik Monk is kind of similar to Simons. I don't think they can, though. I don't think Jrue has that type of value. That's why I don't really look at this immediately like, oh, yeah, they're just somehow maximizing their value for Ant by trading him for Jrue and then flipping Jrue. I just don't think Jrue on his contract has a ton of value, but to play devil's advocate to myself, there could be a number of teams, especially in the Eastern Conference, that just view Jrue Holiday as a guy that can get them over the hump in a wide open East. I think maybe more teams that view Jrue Holiday like that than they view Anfernee Simons like that. And if we go back to 2 off seasons ago when we heard rumblings about the Celtics liking Anfernee Simons, maybe that's how the Blazers maximize value in a Simons trade, is by turning him into Jrue Holiday and then flipping Jrue Holiday when Jrue Holiday should have more suitors for him. And it just takes one team that really wants Jrue Holiday to get him. But my whole question to that is, okay, why didn't they trade for him then? Why didn't they trade for... If a team really wanted Jrue Holiday and was willing to give up a ton of assets, really good value for him, why didn't they be the team that makes this trade with Boston? Why is it Portland? If Boston was getting potentially better offers. The only answer is they really wanted Anfernee Simons.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. Like you mentioned earlier, I know dating back since the Dame offseason, Boston was willing to talk about a Anfernee Simons at number 3 for Jaylen Brown. The Blazers were not interested in that move because they're scared as heck to trade number 3. And so Boston feels like they got a young player that can help their window, help keep them afloat and all that kind of stuff. So, but this isn't the same as last time we traded for Jrue. Like, he's not the same player anymore. He's in the twilight of his career. To me, this really feels like the Blazers just valued that experience that he has and that championship pedigree and wanted a player of his caliber in our lineup. And I guess offense be danged, right? Like,
yeah. So to piggyback off of that, I'm going to read something off from your guy, Kevin O'Connor. Okay.
My guy?
Your guy. He says... So he had this write-up. He said, why Portland's trade for Jrue Holiday is better than you think. He says, the Blazers had a top 5 defensive rating after the All-Star break. In the short term, Jrue Holiday can help them take another step forward, and he is a way better fit next to the core pieces on the roster. This season, if Holiday has a bounce-back year, his value increases way beyond what they gave up. A poor-fitting guard on an expiring deal in Anfernee Simons plus 2 distant seconds. So maybe they could flip Holiday before the 2026 trade deadline to a contender. Or maybe they keep Holiday until the final year of his deal in 2027-2028. At that point, he'll have a juicy $37 million expiring deal that could be combined with assets to go get a star. Well, we also might have Jeremy Grant's big expiring contract that year as well. But
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, teams need salaries to make big trades. Well, yeah, Jeremy Grant. Jrue becomes that piece after only 2 seasons. Acquiring Holiday isn't a misread of the Portland timeline. It's about the future. Turns Simons into a player who fits better now, helps facilitate development, and gives them a tradable salary when it's winning time. I mean, they're stuck with Jeremy Grant. They don't need Jrue Holiday's salary in 2027, 2028 at this point. And even if they trade Jeremy Grant, you can sign players and basically massage your books to have that sort of salary if you just plan for the future.
Cap space.
Yeah. This is going to be tough that year, depending on potential Tamani, Scoot, Sharp extensions, but yeah.
I don't like the whole recoup value thing. I don't think that's never really been Cronin's MO either.
Yeah.
But
the only time it was when he immediately flipped Jrue Holiday after the Dame trade.
Yeah, but that wasn't recouping his value. That
Yeah.
was just taking advantage of his value. And his value changed because up until a couple weeks before that trade, we hadn't even heard him say this until the trade. That's why we were more angry about the return of the Dame trade than we were after we heard this news. But it was said that Jrue was leaning towards retiring at the end of his current contract before this extension he got. And so at the time we traded for him, we thought he was retiring in like 2 years or whatever. And so that we didn't know that he had said a couple weeks prior that he was backtracking on that a little bit, and now is signing that extension. So, but you can't. He had a lot of value then because he was going to play longer, and he helped Boston win a championship. So it was a good trade for Boston, and I think this is a good trade again for Boston. To me, what we went through with Jeremy Grant last year at 30 years old, you can't take that same risk with a 34-year-old Jrue Holiday, who's had a lot of wear and tear on his body.
But he is more of a winning player. Like, I'd rather take that risk with Jrue than Jeremy at this point if I had to choose between the two, but I get your point.
I'm just saying, like, sure, like in a vacuum, like, yeah, that's the type of player you want on a team. Like, that's good, all that. But that's why the Blazers traded for him. That's not why they're not trying to like make him have more value at the trade deadline. They traded for him because they value those things and want to make the playoffs this year. And that's why they moved. They're not going to then, if he plays well for them, be like, oh, we could get a first round pick, because like we've just been talking about for months, they're not really interested in trading their guys for picks that often. They're more of the, we want players that can help this team take that next level. So I just find it hard to believe they traded for him to kind of recoup some value later on.
Yeah. There is another potential aspect to this with them making this trade before the draft. Could it be if Jakob Jonas is there at 11, then they just flip Jrue and run it forward with Jakob Jonas as the third guard behind Scoot and Sharp, and then if he's not there, maybe they take a Carter Bryant and they're fine with keeping Jrue? Like, could the potential pick at 11 be a factor in this trade?
I think if they picked Jakob Jonas or Demon or whoever, I don't think it matters that. Because, like I said, they're trying to make the playoffs this year and take that next step. I don't think they care about having a rookie backup third guard. Like, I don't think that's their plan at all. I think they want to have Jrue, Scoot, and Sharp be the guard rotation.
Yeah.
I did hear that they're kind of they're starting to be a little more torn on a couple players, including Carter Bryant. So Demon and Carter Bryant are definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Carter Bryant is just adding to the defense, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
like do they? We just saw OKC win a championship, and like every player in the rotation is a good defender outside like Isaiah Joe, but Isaiah Joe's improved. Like he's about as good as you could ask for a player of that size defensively. Like he's competitive at least. Is the Blazers, is that just where they're headed with this? Is like we want everybody in our rotation to be good defensively, and maybe the only guy we'll give a little bit of a pass to is Shaedon Sharpe? Or maybe it's like, I don't know. It's obviously a defensive-minded move. I do respect them really trying to build a defensive roster and a defensive culture. And assuming that's the main justification for this move going into next year is they want to be a great defensive team, then I at least respect that that's the reasoning. Even with all the question marks about salary and is Jrue falling off, like can he bounce back? There's also the upside of if he has a good season this year, he could have more trade deadline value than Anfernee Simons would. And maybe that's a factor in the equation, but I echo what you said earlier. I don't think if Jrue Holiday's having a good season, I don't think they're going to try and trade him at the deadline. I think they're going to be happy that he's having a good season, and they're probably going to be in a play-in race at least, and they're just going to want to go after that. So we've talked about this for a while. Like the rebuild is a little short-sighted. It's focused too early. We talked about how they just want to be back to being a playoff team, and that's exactly what this move is. I don't think this is the last trade they make. I almost wonder if Joe Cronin got tired of the Sleepy Joe comments and now he became Trader Joe. Now he's Trader Joe.
I don't know. We'll have to wait for him to make 2 moves in one offseason for that to happen.
Yeah, 2 trades. But this just doesn't feel like the only trade of an offseason, you know?
Yeah. Well, Tori, I keep coming back to this, though. If the Blazers are truly just saying, screw it, we're going to build the best defensive lineup possible and just beat teams with defense, that's going to be our identity, which like makes sense if that's what they would do. But why is Ayton already penciled in as the starter then? That makes no sense, right? Like I keep coming back to that. Like if that's their plan, why would you not want to at least have that be a camp battle between him and Klingon and have the much better defender possibly win that out? It just that part of it doesn't jive with the whole plan. And at some point, I mean, yes, we thought that maybe the defense could take a step back next year. It would like maybe got a little bit of adjusted luck against teams. And don't get me wrong, Tumani, Denny, Klingon had a great defensive second half of the season, all that kind of stuff. But like the way they talked about the defense was like, oh, it's arrived. Like we don't have to worry about the defense now. We're going to focus on offense. So it is a little weird that they made a trade that's like almost exclusively for the defensive end when they kind of talked about their defense as already been figured out. And now we got to figure out the offense. Like, and then you trade away arguably your best offensive player for more defense.
Yeah.
And you still have the shooting problem. You still have offensive problem, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying like you could still think this is a good trade. It just seems a little weird that they would lean into the defense so much when they've talked about it being kind of like a light bulb figuring it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you could make the argument that if they're trying to play more of a unselfish, like free-flowing type of basketball, that Jrue Holiday is a better fit than Anfernee Simons in that sort of system. I don't think Jrue Holiday is a more talented offensive player and is a better offensive player, but you know, they're trying to build an identity on both sides of the floor, and maybe they feel like Jrue just pushes them in the right direction on both sides of the floor. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing.
I mean, he's never really been a playmaker type, though.
Yeah, but he's not like an ISO player, ball dominant. like Ant had became at times. So yeah, it's weird. And then there was a report like the Blazers had been ramping up their efforts to shop Anfernee Simons. So it sounds like they were going to trade him no matter what. I wonder what other offers they had and what, if they didn't trade him for Jrue Holiday, what they would have traded him for. Just so many questions after this move. That's the thing. I thought an Anfernee Simons trade would answer questions, Eric, and it didn't answer like hardly any of them. So more questions. That's always fun. Shout out to Pasty Zach, member for 37 months, says, does this mean we get a top 4 pick in 2026 now? Nope. I don't think that's likely. Shout out to Corey, $2 donation, says, guys, I'm so confused. This trade makes no sense. Hopefully we tried to explain their side of things, the Blazers side of things. It still doesn't really make sense to us either, though. Shout out to Hyperprime member for 43 months, says, this full circle moment is so hilarious. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. They bring Jrue back. It's funny seeing the Blazers reacquire Jrue Holiday on Twitter in reports. Shout out to Matt with the $2 donation, says, can Holiday be traded immediately? Yes, he can, but his salary cannot be combined with other salary to match contracts. So he's making $32.4 million. That matches up to $7.5 million more. So the Blazers can bring back $39.9 million. If they want to bring back more than that $39.9 million, let's say they want to bring back $40 million, they can't use Jrue Holiday to match it all, basically, because you can't combine his contract to anything else, and that's too much money for his contract. Yeah, for 60 days. Now,
and that's also technically contingent on the trade being finalized. Now, maybe if there is some sort of secondary move, maybe Boston is allowing, we'll wait a little bit for it to be league official. And like I said, it's possible this trade might not even be official. Like the Denny and Jeremy ones weren't official until the moratorium in July was over. So it's possible that this trade won't even be official, even though. And then the weird thing is, like, remember Cronin couldn't talk about Denny last year for like 2 weeks after the trade. And then same thing with Jeremy. Like they had the awkward draft press conference where people are asking him about it, but he's like, I can't comment on that. So if that's the case, if it is a designated new league year trade, that basically gives Blazers all kinds of time to figure out exactly what the details of this trade, and they can't like back out of the trade really, but they can change like the parameters of the trade.
Yeah. And I will say this, Jrue could be a good mentor for Scoot and Sharp. I don't want to understate that.
Yeah, for sure.
I've always thought like vet mentorship was maybe a little bit overrated by people, but like Jrue Holiday defensively for Scoot, for Sharp even, as that vet mentor. I mean, I couldn't think of a better defensive vet mentor for those guys. But also, I mean, he's been a really good offensive player too for seasons in his career. Like his last season in Milwaukee averaged almost 20 a game. Like he's just an all-around good player, all-around good vet to have. And I do think that is part of the calculation here.
Great character guy, too.
Yeah. Shout out to Kyle Wilson, $5 donation, says, we're going to be paying Grant plus Jrue $70 million a year for the next 3 seasons. That's a fireable offense. Have to imagine Jody wanted to up the franchise sale value. Thank you, Kyle, for the $5 donation. I don't think this changes the franchise sale value, so I don't think that has anything to do with it, to be honest.
I mean, making the playoffs might, but, I mean, the sale could happen before the playoffs are determined anyway.
Yeah, I just don't think getting a 7 or an 8 seed or whatever is going to change the value of an NBA franchise. The franchise will have a ton of value in itself just because it's one of 30 NBA franchises, and those are hard to get.
But it does help create a little bit more buzz having the playoff push versus winning 20 games. And
yeah, man,
fans tuning out and 70% down in ratings or whatever like a couple of years ago.
I can't, like... It's still too early for me to even think about like expectations going into next year, though, just because I don't think they're done, and we'll see what they do in the draft.
But you say that trading Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday you better make the playoffs though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't make this move and then not make the playoffs and be the 12th seed, right? Like, if they are the 12th seed, they absolutely failed this year if they make a trade like this. If Jrue stays in Portland,
but then they might get lucky in the lottery. Like, yeah, it's all directionless. Yes, potentially. But if you thought that, what I've been talking about is like if you have Ant, Sharp, Ayton in the starting lineup, it could lead to potentially them taking a step backwards defensively compared to last year. And maybe they also thought the same thing and wanted to make sure they continued to make progress defensively. And then you look at the stat that was shared by Blazer Banter on Twitter, that I don't know if it was for part of the season or what it was, but like the offense was much better with Scoot on the floor than Simons. Yeah, like I do think this does make them better next year. The year after that, I don't know. Shout out to Michael Flordelis, $5 donation, says, been a while. What's up, man? Welcome back. Why has it been a while? Where you been? Says, wanted to say always love y'all being the go-to Blazer channel. Also, shout out to Eric for chatting with me at Jollibee. I'm the guy that said hi. Dude, I don't get recognized as much in public as Eric. Eric has more clout than me, so that's
like
cool,
I said,
though.
I'm
Thank you
just
for the
out
donation.
and about more often. But yeah, Michael.
Damn, you're saying I don't get out the house, huh?
Well, I mean, you have been more lately, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, shout out to Michael. It's nice meeting you, man. Thanks for actually saying hi instead of being awkward or whatever, but like some people do. But anyways.
Damn, somebody's watching this, and you just took a shot at though.
Yeah.
Now they're second guessing it. I mean, you're in Eric is 6'6". He's intimidating. I don't blame anyone for being awkward around him.
No way. I'm like a big teddy bear. Some people think I'm some big a-hole because of.
Well, you can be both. You can be a teddy bear that's an a-hole. Shout out to Sam Dooley, member for 31 months, says, what's best/worst case here? Hopium me up. Best case scenario is we win the championship because right now we have the same record as the OKC Thunder. So that's the best case scenario.
And we have a 2-time champion on our team now.
Yeah. A 2-time champion. We got Jrue and Robert Williams. We're slowly going to become the Celtics. Right? Shout out to JD Sports Talk, $5 donation, says, could be going the Pistons route, adding vets that can impact their culture for a team that improved to 36 wins and look to contend for the playoffs. Here's the problem with going the Pistons route. The Pistons have a superstar. The Blazers don't even have an all-star. You can't go the Pistons route without a guy like Cade Cunningham. Also, they were in a weak East. They probably wouldn't have been in the top 8 in the West. So I just don't think that's applicable to the Blazers at all. Anyway, Medina, member for 60 months, says, drop a like. Yes, drop a like. Easiest way to support the channel. We greatly appreciate it. And shout out to Matt with the $2 donation, says, what's the realistic package for Lillard and Giannis? Well, Giannis isn't getting traded, so there's no realistic package for him. And also,
we're not trading for Davis.
It's now like impossible to trade for both of them until the Blazers can combine Jrue Holiday's salary with other salaries. But yeah, it's not going to happen.
It'd be more likely that if we do trade Jrue, we're trading him to reunite with Giannis, not.
Yeah. Shout out to Dylan Metcalf, $5 donation, says, thought exercise if the plan is to flip Jrue, what team in the league would make the most sense? What team in the league? I look at the East and look at teams that feel like maybe they have a dark horse chance at contending next year, given how wide open the Eastern Conference is. I think Miami would like him, but I don't think the Blazers will ever make a trade with Miami just because these front offices don't like each other. And Miami doesn't even want to give up assets for Kevin Durant, so I highly doubt they do it for Jrue Holiday. Maybe Detroit. But what are you going to get back from Detroit? They do have cap space, but that's the thing is like, given that they have cap space, why wouldn't they just trade for Jrue Holiday outright? I mean, I guess the Celtics really wanted Ant, is like the only answer to that. Any teams that stick out to you? We see Rockets, but I think the Rockets are fine where they're at right now. Indiana needs a point guard.
Yeah, for a year. That's the thing. Yeah, Bucks, Pacers both need a point guard for a year.
Hey, is this why the Pacers traded 23 for their 2026 first, so they have all their future first?
They're not trading multiple first, though. Like they
could you
might not
imagine?
even need one first.
Could you imagine we get a Bane package for Jrue?
The Magic would have a tough time matching salary now because they didn't pick up the options on Joseph and Harris. Not that Joseph was making a ton, but they have a tough time trading for another contract. They're not trading like Jalen Suggs or something. Yeah, I mean, teams that need a point guard could definitely be in the mix. I still think the Kings are going to foolishly want to like try to keep some sort of relevance going.
Yeah.
And so that could be a place. The Clippers are always a possibility just because they seem to never want to fully rebuild or anything. Phoenix.
Yeah.
I mean, could it be part of the Bradley Beal trade or whatever? Not to us necessarily, but I don't know. Maybe the Mavericks. Can the Mavericks easily match that? I mean, they need a point guard this year.
They have Clay,
good for Cooper and
Clay and like PJ Washington and a pick.
Yeah. I don't think he's a good fit for the Cavs. You guys have Garland and Mitchell. Why would you?
Yeah. Why? Well, apparently the Suns turned down a Darius Garland for Kevin Durant, so I don't know what the hell the Cavs are doing. But like Toronto for RJ Barrett? Yeah, go ahead and take care of that. RJ Barrett, the Blazers were like the betting favorite recently for him. There could be a number of different destinations. I have no idea. Timberwolves? Yeah.
So
what's the salary, though? I don't know. Like Gobert? We don't need Gobert.
Matt has a $5 donation if we get a first and an expiring for Holiday. Is that a good result? What? We traded him for an expiring.
Basically, it's like if we traded Ant for a first, is that a good result? It's okay. It's just kind of weird. It's weird doing it that way.
Look at it from the Blazers' perspective, though, like from the front office. Why would they trade for Jrue Holiday just to then trade him for an expiring and what's probably going to be a crappy first? Like, yeah, like that makes no sense for their plan. Like they've told you they want to make the playoffs, so like,
yeah. I think there's a 75% chance they keep Jrue Holiday. 75 to 80% chance they keep Jrue Holiday is what I'd put it at. I don't expect them to move. I don't expect them to move Holiday. I'm just reading Twitter, and I just see, like, our guy 503. Shout out to him if he's watching. He had a tweet that said, unless the Blazers have a plan for offense next year, it's going to be ugly, man, and I mean ugly. Hype for Scoot to finally be slaughtered in long-term at point guard, but sheesh, man. I mean, there's stats out there that, like, the offense wasn't any better with Ant on the floor. The Blazers were, like, 8-4 without Anfernee Simons last year.
But it's still bad either way. They do need to find a way to...
Like, the offense was going to be ugly regardless of this trade, unless they make a bunch of other moves. Like, the offense was going to be a problem no matter what. Like, that's the thing, is Anfernee Simons is a good player, but he is not good enough to uplift this offense. He's just not good enough to uplift this offense the way, like, he basically needed to try and uplift this offense. And it ended up with him forcing a lot of tough shots. putting too much pressure on himself at the start of the season. He really struggled at the start of the season, and we talked about it. Like, he was putting way too much pressure on himself. He ended up missing some time to kind of get his head right and came back and was a bit better. His best hot stretch of the season last year was when he kind of went tunnel vision and just hunted his own shot, and he had some really good scoring games but wasn't really making other players better. And then defensively, he struggles. I think in Boston, he won't have as much pressure on him, and he'll get more open threes and kind of be able to be like a piece in that system. And I think that'll actually be better for him. And then defensively, they have the pieces to make things work. So I think it's a good spot for him. I just don't I don't view it as, oh man, this offense is screwed now because the Blazers don't have Anfernee Simons. The offense was already kind of a problem anyway. Jrue Holiday is not some scrub offensively. The last 2 years combined, he's probably shooting similar three-point percentage. He shot like 42% 2 years ago and then 35% last year. Like, it's not like the dude can't shoot. It's not like the dude can't make a play off the dribble. His usage went down in Boston. He was like 19 points per game in Milwaukee, went to Boston, went down to 11 or 12 points per game because they had so many good players. And he just fit into what they were doing because he's that type of player. He will fit into what you're trying to do easier than Anfernee Simons. Anfernee Simons was more of a player that you needed like the right pieces around and the right situation around, and then that's how you maximize him, where I think Jrue Holiday is more moldable in a way to what you're trying to do. And we saw that with him sacrificing some of his usage in Boston to win a championship. So in Portland, with maybe a little bit more of an offensive role, like, there might not be much of an offensive drop-off between Ant and him. The offense has bigger problems than this trade.
All that being said, our best offensive lineup was Anfernee, Sharp, Denny, Tamani, and Klingon. And that lineup did cook a little bit in the second half of the season.
How many minutes did that lineup play?
I don't know the minutes breakdown, but it's weird too because Anfernee and Klingon had really good two-man lineup net ratings and stuff like that. Scoot and Klingon had horrible two-man ones, and then Scoot and Ayton had really good ones. Ant and Ayton had terrible ones. So, like, yeah.
I was just listening to Bill Simmons. Do you think the Celtics turned around and swapped Simons? It would be fascinating to see if they turned around and swapped Simons because it would basically be telling Portland what they could have gotten, you know? I don't think they will, though. I think they'll move Kristaps. I think both Jrue and Simons are where they're going to be moving forward. Mm-hmm. Jason Lee, $5 donation, says, not a trade I would have thought of or maybe even have done as GM. But, hey, Cronin did something after Crickets at the deadline. Hope that's not it. Yeah, Cronin did something, man. Let's just be happy that Cronin did something. You know, he picked up a phone call. He made a phone call, maybe. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. But, yeah, he did something. We'll see if he has 2 trades in his system. The only time he's made 2 trades in one transaction window was his first trade deadline, which was awful. We traded Norm for nothing and then traded CJ for basically Josh Hart and a pick that became Jeremy Grant, and then traded Josh Hart for the pick that became Chris Murray, which just kind of a failed pick, and then Jeremy Grant became a bad contract. So that trade deadline didn't go so well, but then the second time he made 2 trades was, of course, the Dame saga, and he got back to Monty Kamara out of that. The Dame trade was fine at the end of the day after the Blazers flipped Jrue Holiday to the Celtics. They still have Robert Williams III, of course, and they got those Bucks future first, so we'll see how good those are. But other than that, it's basically just been like one trade, if that. He made the Denny trade last offseason, then drafted Klingon and traded away their second-round picks for future seconds and cash and stuff. So we'll see if he has something else up his sleeve, but this just feels like the type of precursor move to potentially something even bigger. Because they still have... They did not give up any draft capital, Eric. They did not give up any draft capital.
2 seconds.
Any first-round draft capital. meaningful draft capital, right? Like, if you make a trade for Jrue and think, okay, we're a little bit better now. We basically just flipped Ant for Jrue. We're a little bit better next season. We still have all our firsts that we had before. We still have, young pieces, whatever. I mean, couldn't you see them using this to justify an even bigger move?
No.
You couldn't?
Because it's the Blazers.
I absolutely could see them using this to justify an even bigger move.
Bro, stop.
I could see them using this to justify like a Sabonis trade. You know what I mean? Or just something where...
Yeah, that is the one. Yes, I could see them. Because like now our defense is good. We can have a forward that isn't a good defender. I can see that. I could also see them simply saying, why do we have to pay to get rid of Jeremy now? Let's just keep him because he matches the same timeline as Jrue Holiday now. And so I could absolutely see them more than making this setting up or being a precursor to an even bigger move. I feel like this is more of a precursor to, we got Jrue Holiday and another draft pick, and let's call it an offseason.
Shout out to Andy Marchant, member for 31 months, says Jrue for Kuzma, Connaughton, and the Bucks first. They don't have any firsts left. What do you mean? And also, why would they? I mean, I guess they would do that because they're still trying to win with Giannis. But I mean, what, you getting their 2031 first? I guess they have that. The Blazers aren't in the mode of trading players for picks. Like, they did it with Dame, and that's literally... They did it with Dame and Jrue to kick off the rebuild, and that's it.
And they traded 2 of those picks to get Denny. Not that that's a bad trade or anything, or the wrong move. I'm just saying, they used some of that capital instead of keeping it. They're kind of... It's kind of like the anti-Thunder rebuild, like we're just going for players, and whereas Presti was very adamant of just keeping the course and getting as many picks as possible. And of course that was jump started by one of the craziest draft pick and young player that turned into an MVP trade of all time. But, throughout the process, he hasn't done a trade where it's like, I'm going to trade all these firsts for one guy or whatever. He just kept the course.
Yeah. Shout out to Tristan Klein, $5 donation, says, we're going to pull the Kings and trade Scoot for like a Brandon Ingram and ruin our future for a playoff series. I hope not, man.
Yeah.
If they traded Scoot for like a Brandon Ingram, you would see me crash out in a way that maybe I've never crashed out before. Like, this is fine because you kind of needed to move Simons anyway, and you just basically traded him straight up for Jrue. But you can't sacrifice the future for next year.
You're pretty much guaranteed to not be able to maneuver around the cap much as if you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say, outside of Holiday being under contract for so long at that price, it would be stupid to trade Scoot right now. It would be dumb. Like
it'd be even worse now because you could make the argument that like, Ant should be the future guard with Sharp, and you should trade Scoot for something and go forward with those two. Jrue Holiday is not a future starting guard for this team. He's not a future starting guard for this team. And the thing is, Ant also was like a point guard, so you could make that case, keep an Ant, moving off Scoot. Jrue Holiday's not a future starting guard. Shaedon Sharp's not a point guard. So Scoot Henderson is your only point guard for the future. Unless they maybe draft one, which at this point, like, who knows? Who knows what this team's going to do on draft night? We have no idea. Last year we knew they wanted Klingon. The year before we knew they were going to go after Scoot with the 3rd pick, assuming The Hornets took Brandon Miller at 2. This year we have no idea what they're going to do. But yeah, Jrue Holiday's not a future player. He's a guy to win now. And it's funny because we were having this argument with Ant versus Scoot. I am happy that argument's finally dead. Like, I'm happy we're not going to have that argument again. Because we've had that argument so many times. The Blazers, should they move off Ant to start Scoot? That's not the only good thing about this trade, but we're not going to have those arguments anymore. And now it's like how well Scoot plays this season could determine how willing they are to move Jrue Holiday at the deadline. Like if Scoot is killing it, you could end up seeing them maybe trade Holiday so they can start Scoot. But also, if Scoot's killing it, they could also convince themselves that, oh, Scoot's playing really well because we brought in Jrue Holiday to mentor him, so why would we get rid of him?
Just like with Malcolm.
Just like with Malcolm Brogdon. So, lots of questions. But I think the one thing that did get answered is the Blazers know what their backcourt of the future is right now. But I'm not even certain that question got answered because there's a greater than 0% chance that they just randomly trade one of them. I don't know what their plan is.
Well, there's also, I think it's more likely that they still have one of the two coming off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, they could also have both of them coming off the bench because they want to start Grant, Denny, Tamani, Jrue in the center. So it's kind of the same position going into next year. The conversations about the starting lineup is just like, yeah, they're going to start Jrue. And basically Jrue is just a substitute for Ant. Because we knew they were going to start Anfernee Simons. They weren't going to bring him off the bench. They're going to start Jrue Holiday. Anyway, if you guys got any questions, we will answer them in the live chat. Shout out to everyone for tuning in.
Thanks to everyone who donated or left a member message too. Appreciate all of you.
Having this channel, man, every time the Blazers make a trade, it just gives me a shot of adrenaline. That's unmatched. Unmatched, because I'm not an adrenaline junkie. And, yeah, this trade.
I know you're going to poo-poo this story, but someone's got to... I'm looking right at Sharp for this comment. Someone has to become a volume, like, respected three-point shooter, because we did, whether you like those stats or not, we did lose the most focal point of other teams' defenses, and that did open up things for a lot of other players. Without that, I mean, it could be even worse without that spacing and without that.
Jrue Holiday's not a bad shooter, though.
But it's the same thing with Scoot, Tori. Teams they'd rather him shoot threes than do anything else.
Well, in Boston, it's because literally everybody can shoot.
Right, but they're not going to blitz. They're not going to blitz double screen pick and rolls as much as they do. They'll go under a lot more. You couldn't do that against Anfernee Simons. The short roll then becomes a little tougher to find the guy in the middle if he's not as open as he was because he's getting double teamed. Just little things like that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
the Blazers just didn't really like take advantage of that. It's not like Anfernee Simons getting blitzed did anything for this offense. They were not.
But if they run the same offense with no gravity, no player that has any gravity, it's going to be tougher for everyone to score.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same conversation though. If they ran the same offense and kept Ant, it would have been a legitimate problem no matter what. Mm-hmm. So it's like the same conversation. It's not like. It's not like, oh, now they have to change their offense because they don't have Ant. They needed to adjust it anyway because it wasn't working even with him. So now it's like, yeah, maybe it's even more important, but they needed to regardless of this trade. So if they don't, yeah, it might be a little bit uglier, but it would have been a problem anyway, is how I view it. So either they fix the offense and these assistant coaching hires that Chauncey Billups has made, that the Blazers have made, either they help him fix the offense or they don't. Like, I really think it's that
what,
simple.
and I think that starts with Sharp being. He's got to be a better 3-point shooter. Like, that'll open up everything if he is able to. The way he improved his finishing last year, if you can combine that with a respectable shooter that defenses have to close out on or are aware of at all times, I think that's the key right there.
Yeah, and I will say this: the last 3 seasons, Jrue Holiday has shot 8 threes per 100 possessions. For reference, Anfernee Simons shoots a little bit more than 12. Okay, so 2/3 of the 3-point volume of Anfernee Simons, and Jrue Holiday shot it at 38.9% from 3 the last 3 years combined. Like, it's not like the Blazers aren't getting a shooter. I do think this is also maybe a vote of confidence in Denny Avdija becoming the number 1 guy.
You have to also, once again, take into account he's not going to have anywhere near the same spacing and open shots he had on the Boston Celtics, because you can't. He's going to be guarded as more of a top option than he was as like the 4th or 5th.
But isn't that a good thing? Weren't you just lamenting like, okay, Anfernee's gone, teams are not going to blitz Jrue as much as they blitzed Ant, but now it's like, oh, well, Drew's going to deal with a bunch of defensive attention too, so it's kind of like,
what I'm
which
saying
is
he's not going to get any of the same shot quality. It's going to be much tougher, and his shooting splits will not be the same that they were in Boston.
I mean, he was a pretty key part in Milwaukee, and I don't know what they shot his last year there, and he still shot the 3 ball well. So I think Drew's a good enough player where he's not just all of a sudden
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying the Blazers don't have, like, there's no one that Anfernee was a much poorer version of Dame. I'm not trying to compare it to, but like for the Blazers for a long time, they've had an offense where one player got a crap load of attention, and it's just one thing that like a lot of fans never, like I see comments like, oh yeah, Anfernee was good on offense for the other team, like all this stuff. Like I don't think people realize just how much defenses paid attention to Anfernee. It was among the best players in the league. Every year, all the analytics say that people defended Anfernee Simons like he was a star, and we all know he's not a star.
I mean, he
defended that way.
I think it was a product of not having much else around him, and it became real simple to like, yeah, we can blitz Anfernee Simons, and it's not like the Blazers will make us pay. And the Blazers didn't make teams pay, so they blitzed Anfernee Simons, right? Like, at the end of the day, you know, I see people say, oh, this is worse for Scoot spacing. If Scoot has the ball in his hands and has Jrue on the wing, teams aren't just going to leave Jrue Holiday. Okay? Teams would guard Ant on the wing. Teams will guard Jrue on the wing. Like, this isn't some drastic change in spacing for Scoot Henderson. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that I don't really get. We're talking about a dude the last 3 seasons that shot 39% from 3, and it's like, oh yeah, well, he got open threes, which I agree with you. I'm not arguing with you, but this is my point. He shot 39% the last 3 years combined because he got some quality looks. But now it's like the spacing's going to work because teams are just the spacing's going to be worse because teams are just going to let Jrue Holiday get open looks.
No, they don't.
They're not.
They don't have to leave him.
Yeah, but this goes back to, like, this conversation just goes back to, like, the problems with the offense is not going to be a result of trading Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday. It's going to be because of everything else.
And I have been right there. I mean, people don't think I am, but I have said they need to fix the offense. They need to do different things on offense. That even keeping Anfernee, they needed to do that. So it's the problem is I don't trust Chauncey to be creative enough on offense.
I mean, we're gonna have to wait.
Don't have a guy who can see, and I mean, you don't. You're not. Are you confident in Chauncey?
I'm more confident. I'm more confident in Chauncey having a more well-flowing offense with Jrue Holiday than Anfernee Simons. It seemed like Chauncey. It seemed like Chauncey loved just putting the ball in Ant's hands and just letting him do whatever the hell he wanted a little too much.
I mean, Denny got a lot of opportunities towards the end of last year too.
Yeah, but a lot of Denny's opportunities were like quick outlet, pushing in transition, playing downhill at guys. He also made quicker decisions. So yeah, like you're
a lot more per possession.
okay. Yeah, like they're not the same exact player. I don't. What's your point?
I think it's devolved into this like Anfernee just dribbled the heck out of the ball, and
That's not what I'm saying.
think
That's
that
not
was-
what I'm saying at all.
No,
But he
you
is.
guys all say that. It's
That's not what I said.
everyone says
That's
that.
not what I said.
You have said that exact thing on this show.
He became a ball dominant player. He played a lot in isolation, but also it was never just roasting Anfernee Simons for that. It was a big product of the offense. I just said on this very show, I think it's a good thing for him going to Boston where he can play more in the flow and not have as much responsibility and not have as much pressure on him to be some fantastic ISO scorer. I think that is better for him.
Off-ball gravity.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
a coach that actually understands spacing and 5 out and all that kind of stuff.
So I don't even understand what we're arguing. Like Chauncey's offense, the way he's ran it is a problem. Either he's going to fix it or he's not. At this point, I'm like, we'll see, right? We'll wait and see. Either he does or he doesn't. If he does, then this trade, offensively, I think will be fine. If he doesn't, then the Blazers were going to have problems regardless of this trade. So, like, to me, this trade just doesn't factor in offensively in the way people are sensationalizing it, saying like, "Oh, this is really bad for Scoot's spacing. The spacing's all wonky now, and this and that." It's like, no, there is so many problems offensively that are above swapping Ant for Jrue, and I just feel like people are acting like Jrue is not a good shooter or not a very solid offensive player. He took more of a backseat in Boston, so if you just look at points per game, it's like, oh, he only averaged, let's see here, 11 points per game last year. He was still 35% from 3. He was still 54.7% from 2. He still had a true shooting percentage of 56.5, which isn't great, but it's like pretty similar to Ant's. He had a lower volume. I mean, at the end of the day, Anfernee Simons was not going to make this Blazers offense good on his own with all these problems.
But that's exactly my point. 2 years ago, we heard Chauncey Billups say, "Oh, I have to try and talk Jeremy into taking bad shots and this kind of stuff." He said that about Sharp too. "Oh, I need him to like take some bad shots sometimes and be more aggressive and all that kind of stuff." And so that is the version of Anfernee Simons we've seen where he's basically being asked to do that. Like, that's not necessarily because he's a selfish player or dribbles the heck out of the ball. That was our offense. Like, that we didn't have that good of an offense.
Yeah,
so,
I'm not arguing with that.
But I'm just like addressing people in chat who just like think that our offense is automatically going to be better without him, because it was mostly predicated on being ball dominant. The thing with Anfernee, though, that pisses me off, and that we'll see in Boston, is that he has shown in the past to be just as effective playing off of the ball as a spot up shooter and things like that, and we never really exploited that much. Like, we asked him to be like dribble into these double teams and dribble into like try to create offense out of nothing with horrible spacing and poor shooting around him. And so in my opinion, this all leads back to our overall offense and the way he was utilized, more so than him just being like a selfish ball.
Yeah, but I don't think you can absolve him of all blame.
No, absolutely not. No, I never have. I mean, he played like absolute crap at times this season. He was terrible. Like, there were points early in the season when I was just like, "Get this guy out of here, man!" Like, I completely agree with you, but like, it's just weird because like we saw Jeremy struggle and he's like, oh, it's because I wasn't allowed to ISO anymore after being told I was supposed to ISO and like all this stuff. Like, or I'm paraphrasing, but like you get what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
it's just, to me, it doesn't really make me feel good that we have like no one really that can been proven to create his own shot when we're gonna have to drastically change the offense.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying, and we better
Yeah, I also just don't understand like criticizing this move from like what happens next year, because I think it's just more of a defensive upgrade than it is an offensive downgrade. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, offensively, the Blazers have bigger problems. I don't think Jrue Holiday is going to be a problem. He's gonna space the floor. He's a good enough 3-point shooter that defenses will respect him. We're gonna trade.
Okay, sorry.
Well, and we talk about like, oh, Ant got blitzed a ton on pick and rolls and like ran a lot of pick and rolls, had the ball in his hands a lot. Like, it could be a good thing to slot Denny in as the number one guy and give Sharp more responsibility, give Scoot more responsibility, and have Jrue as more of like a guy that plays off them that can do a little bit with the ball in his hands than Ant, who, like we just had this conversation, but he was more ball dominant, partially by design, partially because of Chauncey. We had the conversation recently about Joe Cronin empowering Chauncey Billups to start DeAndre Ayton over Donovan Clingan because Joe Cronin has DeAndre Ayton on the team, right? And Joe Cronin has said that he doesn't have sway with Chauncey, like he doesn't try and persuade him to start certain guys, all that stuff. This could be his way of trying to craft the roster to help Chauncey take it the direction Joe Cronin wants to go. Because I do think Joe Cronin is trying to build an identity with hard-nosed defensive players that play hard, have good intangibles. Jrue Holiday is kind of the epitome of that. So you look at the players that Joe Cronin has acquired, the last three guys he's acquired, Danny Avdija, Donovan Clingan, Jrue Holiday, they all fit that very specific mold. The problem is, when you're focused all on defense, the offense can take a back seat, and that's what we've seen. How does Cronin balance it after making this trade? I think that's what the draft is for. I think that's what the rest of this offseason is for. This team has a top 10 defensive roster in the NBA, in my opinion, now after making this trade for Jrue Holiday. But how is the offense going to keep up? Because if this team wants to be competitive enough to win a playoff series, I think they either have to be absolutely elite defensively and, an average offense, or they have to be close to top 10 on both sides of the floor. Okay, maybe they're 7th on defense and 12th on offense. How do you get the offense to catch up? Because the Blazers' offense last year was brutal. They were 23rd in adjusted offensive rating, 13th in adjusted defensive rating. The only way they were going to become an above average offense next year, outside of going all in on a player, was if they made offensive adjustments to their system and stop playing so much iso ball and develop better sets and develop a better offense. That was the only way that they were going to take that jump next year, and that's still the case. And either Chauncey does it and earns his extension, or he doesn't do it and the extension looks really, really bad. That's where we're at right now. Now, the Blazers still need, I think, a backup three that can shoot the ball. They need a true floor spacer. I've loved Konka Nipple for them, but he's not going to fall to 11. So is it Cedric Coward at 11? What guy can you get that could be a rotation player next year and could fill that shooting need? I don't know. But that's why I also don't think they're done. I don't think it's just going to be we draft a player and we're done. I think if they are reasonable, or let's just say reasonable enough, they will know that they need to do some more things offensively. They know they need more shooting. They were the 26th ranked team in 3-point percentage last year. Yeah, I mean, they know they were the 26th ranked 3-point percentage team last year. What were they the year
before that?
The year before that, they were right around there. Let me look. They were 30th. They were last. So they improved. 30th to 26th.
But did they make a move to address that?
I mean, they got Denny, who was a 37% shooter the year before. And also, he helps create easier threes for guys with the way he gets into the paint and can kick out.
Yeah, I guess.
But, like, they didn't make any moves. They didn't make any moves.
That's my point.
They have already been more aggressive in trying to win next year, this offseason, than they have in any recent offseason. So it's like, what does the rest of that look like? Dame. Yeah, even with Dame. This is the most win-now move the Blazers have made in, like, 4 years.
It's like, maybe even longer.
Maybe in Joe Cronin's entire tenure. Well, the trade for Jeremy Grant, I guess. But that's like the only trade that is more of a win-now move than this. And since then, they have not made a win-now move like this. Like, getting Denny made him better, but it was more so he's a young player that fits our core that we see being a big part of our team for the future. Not trading Simons is 26, and Holiday is 35. You're trading for a player 9 years older.
We're gonna trade Thibault for like Cole Anthony or something for scoring, huh?
That's disgusting. What would you grade? What do you grade this trade? Because we did the poll.
I'm not copping out. I do feel like we need to see like the totality of the moves to make it
like
make
in
sense.
A vacuum. What would you grade it?
Just this is my opinion, and people are going to say I'm biased for Anfernee. I'd probably say a C-, simply because I don't think we were there like a 35-year-old point guard away from taking that next step. And I feel like that was the wrong move to make at this point of the process. If he was like an expiring or had even maybe 2 years left on his contract or something, I would say this was a much better trade. You got Jrue for a year to mentor Scoot, and then Scoot's for sure the starter next year, and like a year from now, and then we go from there. It just seems so weird to me that we trade Dame. What was that? 2 years ago? 2 off seasons ago, right? That's all it's been, right? 2 years.
Yeah.
We trade him 2 years ago, and
we got back assets that got us Denny.
Yeah, we made.
So it's kind of like we traded Ant for Denny.
Kinda.
And Rob Will.
And so, but I still feel like, I don't know. We talked about this all year. The core five of Scoot, Sharp, Denny, Tamani, Klingon felt like they were going to be good enough to get us on the kind of cusp of that. And we still have those five, so that's good. I feel like having these big bloated contracts in Jeremy and Jrue are going to come back to kind of hamper our ability to make a huge move.
If they're stuck with Grant, though, is this Jrue contract really that hampering?
I mean, I think it's worse if you have two of them, but like,
if they're, it's going to be hard to have meaningful flexibility anyway. You don't want them to be pushing the tax, of course, but like there's that area between not being a cap space team, but also not being a tax team that you can kind of act like Jrue filters into if you structure things right. If they're stuck with Grant's money through the next 3 years, which they probably are, then I think they could be viewing it as these guys are going to be expiring in 2028. That's when the Bucks picks start hitting. If the Bucks are bad, then
let me ask you this, Tori. Do you
want to know my grade first?
Yeah, go ahead.
C plus. I think C minus is very fair. I give it a C plus.
Let's
maybe a B
How old
minus. I mean, but yeah, I'll give it a B minus. I'll be positive.
how do you how old is KCP?
10 years younger than what he played like last year.
Is he around 30? 32?
He is 32.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, if we would have traded for, like, let's just say it was KCP and the 25th pick, I think they have, right? Or even to Memphis for KCP in the 16th pick now. Like, KCP kind of still, like, he was decent defensively last year. It's not, I know he was awful at shooting the ball. But, like, are we like that much worse off? And we have like
yes.
a good we have like another chance to hit on a pick, you know?
I mean, KCP did nothing last year.
I mean, Jrue didn't do a lot either.
Yeah, but Orlando was a team that needed somebody to do something, and Boston was a team that had a bunch of people that did stuff. So, like, he doesn't play make for others. He shot 34% from three. He wasn't particularly efficient. Like, he was just not good. Jrue's still good. I guess, like, having another pick to take a chance. But the Blazers can always trade down 2 and get 2 picks, like, if that's really what they want to do.
I didn't say KCP is better than Jrue. That's not what I'm saying. I was saying less of a contract and still a defender, and also you get to take a swing at another draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hope is just, like, and this is kind of what I'm coming around to. The hope is that he's not a negative contract the next couple of years. Like, a team is always going to want a guard that can do the stuff they do, and even if he's a little overpaid, if that team has a way of matching his salary and feels like he might be the missing piece, then you can have a market for him and move off of him. So that's when they first made this trade, it was like, why the hell would you trade for that contract? And I get it. But
you're going to talk yourself into being okay with Jrue starting making 30 some million.
I mean, if you got Grant coming off the bench, hopefully next year for what he's making an 8 and starting, I'd rather pay Jrue than those guys.
But we're paying those guys. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem regardless that we're paying those guys.
We're paying all 3 of them over.
That's a problem regardless. Yeah, I mean, but like, this team doesn't want to be a player in free agency. They don't ever do anything in free agency. Like, should they want to? Yes, but it's kind of like you got your 5-man young core, and if you're stuck with Grant, you're stuck with Holiday, and you draft somebody at 11. That's already like 8 rotation players. What were they going to sign with the MLE that was going to be, like, worth it? They have depth.
Wow.
Am I wrong? They have depth. Depth is not an issue.
Do.
So, and you're not going to, like, sign somebody that's good enough to start over anyone the Blazers have. Right? This basically comes down to you have to nail the 11th pick. I made Eric speechless, I guess. I don't know why. Tell me where I'm wrong.
I don't know. Years of arguing about how beneficial it is not just to sign free agents to have cap space. Now you can use the MLE as a trade exception too. You can use it to sign a player to then have value or someone to trade at the deadline as well. And now you're just saying none of that matters because
I don't think none of it matters. It's good to
35-year-old player making $100 and some million.
There's things that Jrue brings, man. There's things that he brings to the table that whoever you got with that wouldn't. I do like his mentorship. I do like his defense. I do like the Blazers going forward with their defensive identity. I think all the offensive problems were going to be problems if you had Ant or if you had Jrue. I think they have a lot of depth. And yeah, it would be good to have that flexibility. They could potentially still have that flexibility, by the way. They could still find their way into having that flexibility. Maybe Thibault opts out. Probably not. But he hasn't picked up his player option yet. But like, there's a team out there that probably wants Robert Williams and is willing to trade a $7 million, salary piece. And then the Blazers have $11-12 million below the luxury tax line. Like, I don't know. This is the first move. If this is the only move, it's kind of a weird offseason. But yeah, I don't know. Like, you could make the argument that if Jrue bounces back a bit offensively, the Blazers will get more value out of this flip maybe at the deadline or a year from now if they want to trade Jrue than they would have out of having the MLE or that flexibility. So yeah, it's kind of hard to quantify.
Once again, why would they trade him if he has a bounce back year?
Do you... I know we're operating like Drew's automatically going to start, but do you think there's any chance he comes off the bench for Scoot and Sharp?
I mean, there's a chance, but I
like, is there a chance that Scoot and Sharp take off next year to the point where it's like, I don't know, but that team's probably really good. Like, that team's probably in the playoff mix if Scoot and Sharp have the best case scenario happen next season. Like, those guys got to step up. But that was kind of the position we were in anyway. Like, yeah, it sucks missing out on a potential MLE and potential flexibility. Like, it is good to have that. But I kind of just think there is more important things. And Scoot and Sharp's development is very important. I think Jrue is good for that. I also think there's a chance they may bring Jrue off the bench where, like, they wouldn't with Ant, especially Ant going into a contract year. Like, they might have had to sign him to an extension, which could have been pretty pricey as well. Like, there's just so many variables. That it's like we can sit here and line up the variables in different ways to make it good or bad. And there's definitely some weird things about this trade and some question flags with Jrue Holiday and if he's, like, how much he's declining and his contract. There's definitely some risk to this trade. At the same time, there is some upsides. They are a better team defensively, and he's a good mentor for Scoot and Sharp. Basically, it's just like the offseason is completely unfinished. So how they follow this up is very important. They can't use this to justify going all in on a Sabonis. I think that would be a disaster. This is where Joe, and I said this is Joe Cronin's litmus test this offseason. He has not passed his litmus test with this trade. This is where he has to get creative. This is where he has to make good moves. And then Chauncey, it's going to be his litmus test next offseason to rework the offense.
Yep, I'm not confident on either of those things. That's why I'm a little less optimistic about this move, because I just haven't seen them be able to put it all together like that. And I think it's much more likely Jrue has been brought in to start, just like they've already announced Ayton's the starter. And yes, you can still mentor him, and maybe he doesn't have to play as many minutes. Probably better for Jrue if he doesn't play 35 minutes a game. So maybe that allows Scoot to play more than he could have with Anfernee. But yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling Chauncey's he's just going to rely on a 35-year-old vet now instead of a 30-year-old vet. And
yeah, I'm kind of at the point where, like, let the rest of the offseason play out and then see if Chauncey fixes some things next season. And if he doesn't, then I will roast him. And if Joe screws up the rest of the offseason, I will roast him. You know I'll roast both those guys. You know I will. If we have a good offseason, I think we'll look back on this move and be okay with it. If we have a bad offseason, I think we could look at the rest of the moves like, yeah, those were worse moves than this trade was.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think it's the worst trade ever. Like it's not. It's fine. Like it just. I don't know.
I'm not even necessarily arguing with you. I'm kind of like, there's some people in chat that absolutely hate this trade. I think they maybe hate it a little bit too much. Um,
I mean, let's be fair though. Like you're saying, Jrue could have a bounce back. It also is likely that he could have an even worse season next year and just be totally cooked. He has been like the type of player who has slowed down. Like isn't as quick as he used to be. Isn't I don't know. Just doesn't. So like it could be that he's just his. It's more valuable as the mentor role. And once again, I don't think you have to have that. Hopefully, we're not talking about him that way. Hopefully, he
yeah,
has a season like a couple years ago. But I mean, it's not often that players just magically go back to getting better again at 35.
but I think
You
there's
know?
also a silver lining to that. I think there's also a silver lining to that, and that's that
Well, I'm glad
Scoot
you.
gets his chance. Scoot
Yeah,
gets his starting job.
but for me, if they were going to trade Anfernee Simons, the hope for me was that they saw the value in right now we have a young core five that we think is good enough to be our starting lineup of a playoff team. This trade makes me feel like they weren't convinced of that and that they still needed to add someone that could be a starting player over those guys. Now, if they end up keep bringing Jrue off the bench, bring Grant off the bench, and you eventually bring Ayton off the bench, and you have 100+ million guys coming off the bench, like I'll give them credit, but it just that has not been the way they've done things, and so I can't give them credit for doing that before they actually freaking do that.
Yeah, I mean, in no way am I giving them credit either. In no way, like the credit that I'll give, the credit that I'll give them is just bringing somebody that's a really good mentor and continuing to push for this defensive identity that they're trying to build. Right? Because we've wanted them to build an identity. We were lamenting how they had no identity like a year ago. Well, they improved a lot defensively. They were the 13th best defense by adjusted defensive rating. And they just got better defensively. So at least there's some direction there. The thing is with the Blazers, man, is like I'm kinda at the point where I know they'll never do exactly what I want them to do. So I've lowered the bar to the point where it's like at least make moves that have some sense to them. Have some sense to them. Like at least make moves that I could explain why you did it. I could never explain why the Blazers did the Norm trade. I could never explain why the protections on the pick with CJ were so dumb. Remember, like there was always just these things where it was like that's inexplicable. And the Jrue trade, although it's not I wouldn't say it's a good trade, I can at least see some sense in parts of it. So at least I could explain it to people why they did it. Somewhat.
Yeah, I feel like you're yeah. I don't. I just have. I feel like they addressed one of their strengths, and like that wasn't. They had like I gave them credit last offseason. They needed to improve rim protection, and Klingon absolutely did that. Uh, I felt like that was they knew they needed to get longer and more intimidating around the rim. They did that, and they said the light bulb clicked and they figured things out. Now they're going to be starting from that point next year. But now you make a trade to increase that even more while still having all the question marks on defense. So maybe they come in with a whole new scheme on offense and it looks a lot better. But I don't think it's going to really improve just organically. And so they're going to have to do something scheme wise to improve the offense. And to me, this makes it a little more difficult to do that. But there's still more moves to come. If you're talking, you're muted.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't think this necessarily makes it more difficult. I think we disagree a little bit there. I think it makes it more important, is what I'd say. But I do think Jrue is a really good team player. Offensively, he doesn't take bad shots. He makes good decisions. He doesn't force things. And I also think going into next year, my biggest hope is that Denny Avdia cements himself as the number one option offensively. I do think by trading Ant for Jrue, it's like, okay, we're going to make him that type of priority offensively, and then we're going to have a bunch of good defensive players around him, and we're going to see if he can make that jump. If he doesn't, the Blazers are in trouble offensively, absolutely. If he does, if he plays like he did the second half of last season, then you probably need some other things offensively, and you need a better system, but it's a good thing. So I'm all about putting the eggs in the Scoot, Sharp, Avdia basket offensively. This feels like they're slightly moving towards that. Anyway, we'll respond to your comments, questions. Chat's been interesting tonight.
Shout out to everyone who's in here. Hello, chat.
Yeah, subscribe. We're gonna have a draft live stream on Wednesday and Thursday.
The haters,
even the haters. We had somebody come in and say, "This is low level basketball talk," and it's like, okay, well, share us your high level basketball talk, man. Let's hear what high level basketball talk sounds like. You can also let us know who you're hoping the Blazers draft with the 11th pick in the live chat. It's going to be a good time, so make sure you tune in when the draft starts. We are going to have a live stream. We're going to stream every pick. We're going to focus on the Blazers, but we'll cover every prospect that gets drafted. And I can't believe the draft is this close. This whole evening I was just playing. I'm like, I'm going to work really hard on the draft live stream, preparing that. And we had Blazers Uprise live, but I didn't expect this chaos. It kind of interrupted my my work, man.
Yeah, I've been just going back, watching a little bit on each of the top prospects, just trying to get locked in for Wednesday. And I was like, oh crap! I had a feeling when my phone started going off, like something happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, make sure to follow us on TikTok. Link in the description box below. I've had somebody helping me out with TikToks, and I was going to be like, hey, can you help me out with a TikTok from this live stream? He already made one and uploaded it. Didn't even have to ask him. He's a legend. So I just want to give a shout out to him. So make sure to follow us on the socials. Mubsy. He's been in chat a little bit.
Nice.
He has an NBA channel. A good NBA channel. Hope he drops a video on this. I want to hear his thoughts. But yeah, follow our socials. Everything in the description box below. Going live Wednesday and Thursday for day 1 and day 2 of the NBA draft. It's going to be weird seeing Jrue in a Blazer uniform, man. It was weird when we had him, when we knew we were going to flip him.
Yeah.
Please talk about the prospects with their true heights without shoes. Sharp is only a quarter inch shorter than SGA. I don't understand. We do. We talk about standing reach. Thanks for your hard work and commitment. Appreciate you, Striker. Thanks, man. IDK if we will see him in a Blazer uniform. Yeah, I think it's more likely that we do. But also, I thought it was more likely we keep Ant, so what do I know?
For the record, Hyken's reporting that we're keeping him.
So we're trading him. Gotcha. No, I'm kidding.
Blazer Media is also reporting that we're keeping the pick, which, like I said a few streams ago, that they view the draft differently than they do these type of trades. This is exactly what I was talking about. Like, the Blazers were trying to trade for players that would help them be better next season, and with the draft, they're going to swing at a young player that they think has the potential to be good, whether that's a lot down the road or not. I mean, they did the same thing with Sharp, and he ended up playing a role off the bench his first year. So it doesn't necessarily mean they won't play at all, but I don't think they're afraid right now to use the draft to try and add to their young core while still trying to make a playoff run.
Yep.
Which, at least they have that part of it.
Who is the longest tenured Blazer now?
Is it Grant?
Is it Jeremy Grant?
It's got to be, right?
Sharp and Grant came in the same year, yeah?
Yeah, Sharp and Grant.
We technically got Sharp before... No, the Grant trade was before the draft.
It wasn't official till after, but yeah,
officially, Shaedon Sharp is our longest tenured Blazer.
Well, officially, Grant started his first game, and Sharp, did he even play in his first game? So,
yeah, do you remember? He hit like 2 step-back threes or something. It was that sack. It was fun.
So, but Jeremy played in a game before.
Yeah. Well, we just got to trade Grant, so Sharp is our longest tenured Blazer.
They're the same, but yeah.
Yeah.
3 seasons.
Jabari, I guess, as well.
The summer league does not count.
It's a basketball game with the Blazers. You know what's funny? We need to talk about the finals. I wasn't planning on talking about the finals to like 800 people though, because I'm gonna rant about that garbage game 7, dude.
Man, you were going through it yesterday.
That game pissed me off. Like, we'll wait. We'll finish talking about this trade. I don't want to start getting negative. You know what I mean? Like we're having a fun trade stream, but Game 7 was BS. The reason why I brought it up, though, is I had a tweet, and I was being sarcastic, right? And this will give you a glimpse into how I feel about Game 7. I said, all right, so the biggest gameplay change for the Blazers next year shouldn't be X's and O's. It should be to have 12 playable players and hack everyone defensively until the refs stop calling it, then force a million turnovers and get out in transition, and just copy the Thunder. Well, they traded Ant for Jrue Holiday. I'll take responsibility for this trade, man. They got their Lou Dort today, Eric.
Thunder don't have any 35-year-olds.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
I kind of wanted to do a mock draft tonight, but like a who we would pick mock draft. But I plan on streaming tomorrow night too, so maybe.
Yeah, let's do it tomorrow.
But also, I was thinking tonight we do what we would do, and then tomorrow we do like what we think will happen. Maybe we just do both tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know. And like actually go through it faster than we normally do, at least with what we would do. So is there any like... I've been scrolling on Twitter just looking for like what people think about this trade. You know, what the cronies think, Eric. The Cronin fans. We call them the cronies.
Sean Hyken 4 minutes ago. One more note about the trade. It's not expected to be made official until after July 6th, like we were talking about. There will very likely be more before then, and it could all potentially be combined into one trade for order of operations purposes.
All right, do you want to explain what he's saying for the people that don't understand?
So July 6th is when everything in the new league year becomes official. You can agree to contracts and stuff starting July 30th. So what that means is that this will be a new league year trade. So, and this has happened a lot recently. The new CBA, GMs have to be super creative, which is another it's another reason why, if you think I'm being negative, why I just cannot be super optimistic is because I've seen a bunch of GMs be super creative and make some really interesting trades or moves to free up draft picks or to free up a little bit of cap space or to work a sign and trade when you're above an apron or something like that. And I just don't believe that our front office has that creativity to do that kind of stuff. But what this does mean, if it's not till July 6th, is the Blazers could make other trades and combine them all into one or arrange them differently so that maybe in another trade they send out someone or get someone back that they wouldn't have had to match normally, or whatever the case may be. There's things they could do to include in this trade to make it a little different than just like a one-on-one type trade.
I like hearing that there is more to come, but I have no idea what that would be.
Denny and 2 firsts were pretty creative. Yeah, that's trading Brogdon and 2 firsts for one player. Like, yeah, that's super creative, man.
The most basic type of trade package is just so creative. Yeah, so
it's not good or bad. It just means you have a little bit of time to tweak it a little bit. But they could just wait till July 6th, and that could be the trade. Like the Denny trade didn't have anything extra added to it.
Yep. Shout out to Antonio, member for 6 months. Or no, wait, let me go back. Where were we at? Smog, $5 donation says, so I heard you liked Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah, man. He's a super creative trade piece, so we like that. Shout out to Matt, $2 donation, says Sharp has to be Kobe light or we need to rebuild. I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis on Sharp and Denny offensively next season. What that looks like, I don't know. I don't hate it, though. Shout out to Antonio, member for 6 months, says top 10 defense next season. Hope Scoot starts now. Yeah, I would like Scoot Sharp with Denny as a third guard, where if Sharp is taking it. Who did I say is the third guard?
Denny.
Denny? That doesn't make any sense. With Jrue as the third guard, and basically if Sharp's having some of his defensive roles or whatever, you sub him out quick, you make a statement, that sort of thing. That would probably be my move. But Jrue being older, like he's probably not going to play as many minutes as Ant played, I would think, but Chauncey does love his vets, so maybe not.
Here's the question, Tori. Is this the famous trade that Joe set up at the trade deadline?
Yeah.
Boston already agreed to trade Jrue this offseason when they're thinking they're going to win a second championship.
Yeah. They planned on winning the championship with Jrue and then trading him for some salary relief and a younger guard. He planted the seed, man.
The seeds were planted.
Shout out to Cronin for planting the seeds.
Planted those seeds right in Brad Stevens.
Okay. All right. That's crazy. Shout out to Matt, $2 donation. I'm not going to read the message. Basically, he just doesn't like TikTok, so that's your opinion. Shouts of Mono Man. $3.50. He always leaves a $3.50 dono. At least he's
about Tree Fitty.
Tree Fitty. It says, damn, Simon's traded a week later after my last message. Yeah, I'm still shocked that he got traded. Felt like he was never going to get traded. I was ready for the $32 to $35 million extension.
You were so down on that.
Yeah. And shout out to Matt, $5 donation, says, we need to draft Danny Wolf. We need the Israeli... I don't even know what that means. To heal our wounds, we could be the chosen team. I mean, thank you for the donation. I don't really want Danny Wolf. Torrey Jones Game 7 rant about the Zebras now. Do you want to start that conversation?
Sure.
So I basically got super mad yesterday because
Torrey had an epic meltdown.
So I'll preface this with this. I love basketball. There's a reason why I cover basketball. I love the game. I'm passionate about the NBA. Okay. This is why I care. So first off, ESPN's coverage of the NBA is hurting the league, in my opinion, and it's downright horrendous, and I cannot listen to Stephen A. Smith anymore. The whole thing with him playing solitaire in the middle of play when he's at a finals game, and just absolutely dumb. But just seeing a lot of Gilbert Arenas comments and nobody cares about small markets. Nobody cares if you win a ring if you're not the best player type of garbage all over Twitter right now. And some of the stuff that Stephen A., just the way he covered the finals, I thought was kind of despicable. And the coverage of it was just a joke. And then you go into game one of the finals and it looks like a regular season game. They didn't even show intros, nothing on the court in terms of finals logos or anything. That was a disaster. So I was already annoyed with that. And then you have Tyrese Halliburton go down with his torn Achilles, and yeah, you don't play players on strained calves. If you were here 5 years ago when the Blazers did that with Rodney Hood and he tore his Achilles, I went on an epic rant about that and basically said as much. And yeah, at this point, the NBA, I think, has to start treating calf strains like the NFL treats concussions, because seeing 3 guys tear their Achilles in the playoffs from the Eastern Conference, 3 number zeros or letter O's, just downright heartbreaking. I feel like I was already, that just sucked because I felt like we got robbed of a great Game 7. I felt like Indiana was going to win that game with the way Halliburton started and the energy they were playing with at the start of that game. I know it was tied, but I thought that was going to be a great Game 7, so we got robbed of that. But the cherry on top, man, that was one of the worst ref games I've ever seen, Eric. And it's what everybody talks about with OKC. The way they are just allowed to do whatever the hell they want defensively and just hack guys, grab guys' wrists, just completely maul guys defensively. And then on the other end, the way Dort flops, SGA flops at the slightest bit of contact and they get calls. I thought that was some of the most one-sided BS I've ever seen. And it was disgusting to see in a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I thought it was absolutely disgusting. That game was not called both ways. The Thunder get away with so much crap. And I guess it's just because of their defensive reputation. Dort has a reputation as being a lockdown guy. Caruso does as well. Those two guys specifically are just allowed to hack dudes, maul guys, foul guys 3-4 times a game without getting called for it. And the Thunder thrive off that. They start forcing turnovers because of that. Whatever. My whole thing with reffing is just call it even. So if you're letting OKC's defense just manhandle guys and push guys and hack guys all game, You got to let Indiana do the same thing. You got to let Indiana do the same thing. But then seeing like Dort in the middle of the game basically run up to Mather in transition, run into him and flop, and them call that while they're letting OKC get away with 5, 10 times worse was so frustrating. So frustrating to me. There's multiple plays down the stretch with SGA creating the contact and flailing, and I thought TJ McConnell, he had that stretch where he had 4 straight buckets, that pulled up mid-range jumper, I thought he clearly got hit. Like, there's just so many plays where it's like, if that's OKC, they probably get that foul call. But because it's against them, they don't. It just feels one-sided with them, and I'm not the only one that's talked about this. Basically, fans all across the league are pointing this out. This is a problem. This is a problem. The NBA has always had questionable refereeing. Of course, you had the Tim Donaghy scandal way back in the day. I don't think this is anything like that. I think the NBA has a problem with refs buying into reputations and calling the game based off that. We've always talked about star calls offensively, where star offensive players get the benefit of the doubt where other players don't. We talk about the rookie whistle, where rookies get refereed a lot more toughly, and we've seen that with rookies in the past with the Blazers. I also think there seems to be a bias with star-level defenders. And there was a quote, I forget who it was from, but basically a quote where, like, I don't know, it was from somebody legit talking about how, I don't know, I wish I remembered who it was, but basically if you build a defensive reputation in the league, you can get away with a lot. And I think that's what you saw in Game 7 with the Thunder, because that did not feel like it was fairly refereed at all. And as somebody that cares about the product, especially in a Game 7 of an NBA Finals, like seeing the way that game I thought was totally botched really frustrated me. Really frustrated me. The NBA has some other things that are, I think, glaring issues, but I've never been one to sit here and say, like, the league's in trouble because the salary cap keeps going up. They keep making more money. They keep getting, good TV rights deals. So the league's not in trouble. But the product with the coverage to the way the game is ref to some of the shameless, absolutely shameless flopping from OKC while they maul guys on the other end and then complain about obvious fouls is just gross, man. It's just so gross to me.
Yeah, that Dort play was hilarious. But you might have missed this, Tori. Right in front of the ref, the previous time down the court, Neesmith shouldered him and knocked him over right in front of the ref. The ref was about to call it and let it go, and then I think it was like kind of a makeup type call. He should have just called the first one, but
there's no consistency with what they call.
Yeah, I hate, like, because OKC's been ref that way the entire season, so like I didn't get too worked up about it because that's just how they've been. And this goes back for me to like some of the Lakers teams, the Brandon Roy against the Rockets, they were just holding him the whole freaking time. As soon as he crossed half court, they just hold him. I hate how refs allow both teams to just hold players like on inbounds passes or off ball. You shouldn't be able to wrap your arm completely around someone. I wish all that stuff would get cleaned up, and I think the sport would look better if it was just cleaner and there was a lot less holding and stuff like that. And I'm not even talking about like hand checks. I'm just talking about just like blatantly holding someone, or the worst to me is when someone hooks someone's arm and then flails and like makes it look like they fouled them. I hate that crap too. But to me, it's like I was just so bummed when Halliburton went down because he came out like he was destined to lead his team to win that game. And with how clutch he had been this entire season in playoffs, I think we're just kind of robbed of what could have been an awesome moment to see him go toe to toe with OKC. And I mean, you have to wonder if he would have known he'd blow out his Achilles if he played. I think he still probably plays or like risks it. So uh, I just you got to give that guy credit for laying it all on the line, knowing the risks with that injury and stuff like that. I mean, most people probably wouldn't have been able to play game 6 either, let alone game 7 off a calf strain. So just want to give my respects to Halliburton. But man, that just took the sails out of that game. And then, the Pacers had several players that did not play well either. So that was an opportunity for someone to step up. A lot of them had stepped up all playoffs. So it's not like they deserve to be called out or anything. But it just, to me, the Thunder had control of that game after their third quarter run. So I wasn't going to get too worked up about any of the ref type stuff or anything. But I just hope in the future they clean it up a little bit in terms of like holding and flopping and stuff like that, like they said they were going to do a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's almost just like NBA refs will just decide to let something go and then just decide to call it based on what they want to call. You know what I mean? It's not like... And I get that there's judgment calls, but it just feels too much like we're just randomly calling some stuff and then randomly not calling the same stuff. Like the calls are just completely random and BS. And I think that's where like these judgment calls, I think the NBA has a problem with refs erring on the side of, oh, this is a great defensive player, so like a judgment call, a bang call, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they're a good defender. So it's almost like we're just going to trust that they are playing good defense. I think that's part of what you've seen with OKC, man, because Indiana was not allowed to guard them the same way. There was the play where, like, TJ McConnell was dribbling, and I forget who was defending him, but whoever was defending him was literally holding his wrist for, like, 4 seconds, and TJ McConnell's, like, looking at the ref that is staring right at him, and the ref doesn't call it. I mean, like, I thought that was a terribly ref game. That really pissed me off. I think the coverage and that product in a Game 7, it just bummed me out, man, because I love the NBA. I love basketball. I want the game to be refereed well. I want storylines to be covered. I want small markets to be covered. And we have a great finals between two small markets, and to see a Game 7 that could have been a legendary Game 7 go down that way with Halliburton tearing his Achilles, trying to play through it, and then the refs just completely botching that game. Like, Indiana had a chance to win that game. They were up 1 at halftime. The thing is with the Thunder is they start playing insanely physical at half court where you can't even, like, get into an offense, and it's good defense, but it's fouling, man. Other teams do that, they get called for it. I couldn't imagine the Blazers getting away with half the stuff that OKC got away with in a game. They wouldn't. And I guess I get that it's the finals, so they're going to let more go, and it's going to be more physical, man. But even other teams in this year's playoffs, even Indiana in the finals, I felt like we're not allowed the same leeway to play as physically as OKC did. So that was really annoying, and the shameless flopping, dude. The only way the NBA fixes that is if the refs stop falling for it.
Yeah.
But man, it's like somebody will get decked and shoved to the floor where it's like a real foul and they won't call it, but then the second somebody flops, it's like they always buy it.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I would say, like, you took that like it was the Blazers last game, man. You were going through it last night.
I mean, I was rooting for Indiana, but
yeah,
it was kind of like one of those things where if it wasn't badly reffed, definitely wouldn't have been mad. Like, just mad that that's their, like, pinnacle of the sport is the way that is reffed. in a Game 7 of the finals. Like, just rubbed me the wrong way, man. Really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, OKC played really well, too, though.
Yeah. BS, you cried every Indy loss. What do you mean? They lost 3 other games. When did I cry about Indy losing? I've called out SGA in the way he flops, yeah, but that's obvious. That's obvious. If you don't think he does, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't think he flops a lot, man. Did you like my my new NBA logo I tweeted yesterday? Did you see that, Eric?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
The play where he shot a jumper, didn't get touched, and landed on his ass because he was trying to get free throws. I mean, that's SGA for you. Great player, but my goodness, the Dort flop, like, just I'm tired of that crap. It rubs me the wrong way when teams like will play the most physical basketball on the defensive end and then do that on the other side of the floor. Like, it's the combination of the two that bugs me.
Yeah. So, Indy doing the same thing on defense, but you're not mad at that because they weren't flopping on offense.
They don't flop like that. Also, I don't think they were allowed to do the same play as physically defensively. They had some moments. But it just seems like there's a stretch where refs will stop blowing the whistle on OKC defense for like 4 or 5 minutes and they can kind of do what they want and they go on a run. And it's Caruso and Dort. So, they don't flop, haha. You don't think Dort flopped yesterday, person in chat?
He's making that comment at you saying that Pacers don't flop.
Oh, well, all right, man. I mean, it's pretty commonly accepted that the Thunder have a flopping problem, and it helps them. It's pretty commonly accepted. This is not a hot take.
I will say, I don't think Halliburton's a flopper. He usually plays pretty straight up.
Yeah.
But that's also what sucked about him. Like, it felt like he was going to will them to win. God, I feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
And Dame and Tatum, man, that's just terrible.
Yep.
And then that sucks for the NBA next year, man.
The East is going to be super interesting. Like, can any of these guys... It's going to be interesting to see the timing of their return because you think, like, Dame could return for playoffs if the Bucks are in it.
I think he'll try, but
he's older. So, like, Halliburton, I would assume, would be returning faster. Like, can he return in 10 months?
Yeah. So, I do want to say one thing. The schedule has been 82 games for, 50-plus years? Like, it is... I don't think it's the schedule. And there has been some breakdown on a certain move that people have been doing a lot.
It's the
more
negative
lately.
step. Yep.
The negative step move.
Whenever I see somebody take a negative step and go down like that, you automatically know at this point.
Yeah. So maybe you just gotta teach guys, especially if you have a bad ham or a calf, to not do that move.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's weird because, I mean, there's so many things in sports, and you know, the athletes' bodies are just so finely tuned, and I don't know if it's maybe a detriment or something, and having like someone like Jokic, you know, doesn't get hurt as much as other people, you know, like it feels like but like back in the day, players played 82 games, didn't rest back-to-backs, and didn't have any issues or anything. There was a season where it was a shortened 50-game season, and it was in like 3 month time, and there was like back-to-backs and stuff like that, and then a full playoffs, and like there wasn't this many injuries or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. And then you look at baseball. I mean, there used to be guys who would throw 9 innings, every game, like 8, 9 innings, and that was normal. And now you get to like 100 pitch count and you have to come out and you're hurt all the time and stuff like that. It's just, I think it's just like training wise, it's more just to be your best shape for that game, not necessarily for your body long term to sustain all this kind of stuff. I don't know.
Baseball, they just throw pitches harder, especially like breaking balls, and that's the problem. Like average velo is just up a lot. With the NBA though, it's like Dame played 58 games this season. So was it like he didn't have enough games because he was rusty? Is that why he tore his Achilles? You know what I mean? Like, was it the blood clots? I don't know. There's so many circumstantial things, but like players tear their Achilles early in the season. James Wiseman and Isaiah Jackson tore their Achilles early in the season. Right? It wasn't a number of games played issue for them. Like DeMarcus Cousins did it mid-season when he did it with the Pelicans. Right? And then like DeJounte Murray. Was DeJounte Murray an Achilles or an ACL? I forget.
Don't remember what it was. I think it might have been ACL.
Because like Kyrie was a ACL. Yeah, DeJounte Murray was an Achilles tendon. He played 31 games. The problem is in the playoffs, like Tyrese Halliburton had a strained calf and played on it. And took a negative step with that calf. And if you have a strained calf and you take a negative step with that and try and accelerate, like it's almost, I kind of feel like it's almost a given that you're going to tear your Achilles. Right? We saw it with Rodney Hood. So it's that move plus, like, you can't play on a strained calf. You cannot play on a strained calf. You should be 100% healthy if you're going to play. Now, I get that Tyrese Halliburton wanted to play. The thing is, you almost got to protect players from themselves. That's the only way to stop it because, like, Tyrese Halliburton's going to want to play. If it was the regular season, he would have sat 2-3 weeks, however long it would have taken to heal that. But it's Game 7 of the finals. Like, of course he wants to play. And I respect him for going out there and risking his health to try and win that game. But at the end of the day, like, it's not a schedule issue. I fully agree. I do not understand that.
Maybe one thing if they just recently increased it to 82 games and then a bunch of injuries happened.
Yeah. But. And it'd be one thing if all the Achilles tears were, like, in the playoffs, but it's not. So...
I mean, Tatum's, you could say, like, he's had a bunch of deep playoff runs. A ton of tear on his body lately, maybe. But, Halliburton, I guess, 2 years in a row. But...
Yeah, I mean, Tatum played 72 games this year, 74 games the year before, 74 the year before, 76 the year before. Deep playoff runs throughout all those years. Like, yeah, that adds up. But, like, you're never going to eliminate injuries. It's not a scheduling issue. So, like, if you reduce it from 82 to 68, it's not just going to make Achilles tears go away. Shoot, if the Pacers lost Game 6, like, he would have never tore his Achilles either. Like, there's so much circumstantial stuff, man.
Yeah. So there was, I guess... Halliburton and Tatum tore their right Achilles and they plant off their left foot. Dame tore his left and he plants on his left.
What do you mean plant?
Like that's his build up foot. They're saying like Halliburton and Tatum are gonna have an easier time coming back. Well, one, they're younger, but two, like when you go to jump, if you're right-handed, you usually jump off your left foot.
Yeah, like in the open court. But I mean, like Dame going for a left-handed layup jumps off his right. Like he jumps off both. Yeah, when he was explosive in dunking, he jumped off two a lot. That right-left step, Why is chat so toxic today?
I don't know. People did not like your rants last night.
I mean, people can cry about what I say. That's fine. It's my opinion. I'm not going to be scared to share it. I'm not going to hold back because some people can't handle it. Is Big Dumper winning MVP? I hope so, man. That dude's a beast. Yep, people can cry about you crying. Yeah, they can't. It's ironic, huh? I love when people complain about me complaining. Because then I get to complain about them complaining that I'm complaining. That's a crazy comment.
Chat summary. Viewers in chat are discussing a basketball player named Hallie, with some finding him chill and skilled while others consider him annoying.
Bro, Halliburton seems like a great dude and like a great teammate. Yeah, he talks some shit. I don't care. Like, I'd rather have somebody that like doesn't flop and like talk some shit on the floor than like somebody that flops and pulls those antics. Like, trash talking's part of basketball, man. Trash talking's part of basketball. I don't understand why it's just like Hallie trash talking. He's so annoying. I don't know why he's so rent free in so many people's heads with that.
Well, you know why.
Yeah. But like if he was pulling Pat Beverly stuff, then yeah, I'd hate him. If he flexed after every made three and mean mugged the crowd like Dylan Brooks, yeah, that's annoying. That's annoying. I just don't find him extra like other people seem to do, I guess. Is this dude talking to me? Oh, please, if SGA talked shit, you'd be crying so hard.
That's true.
SGA can talk shit. I don't care, man. I like players when there's animosity. I like when there's animosity. Bro, I've heard, I don't know, man, like some of these people that say these comments, like, I wonder, like, have they played, have they heard shit talk on the floor before? Have you heard the way basketball players talk to each other on the floor before? I don't understand. I don't understand. I wish Shaden Sharp trash talked more. I wish he got himself going off of trash talking, and that's how he could like.
I did like the
be
first
intense.
Couple times he got a little angry in games this year. It's good to see him show some emotion.
Bro, this sneaker main guy is tripping. Like, is he a Thunder fan? Is he a Thunder fan?
Probably.
There were Thunder fans in my mentions, like, getting pissed off about my tweets. And it's like, your team just won the championship. If you're that mad about a Blazer fan tweeting seconds after you won a championship that you have to go at him on Twitter and can't even enjoy your freaking championship, I legitimately feel sorry for you. Legitimately feel sorry for you. Like, go enjoy your ring. I don't get it. I never understand like fans of teams that win championships that immediately just use that to go be like super negative and toxic on social media. It's like, dude, you can't even enjoy it. This is how you have to enjoy it. Don't understand it. He is a Thunder fan. This is the guy I'm talking about. This dude in chat is a Thunder fan, and he's like has to correct the narrative. Like, just enjoy your ring, bro. Go enjoy your championship. Like, of course you're going to be biased for your team, but you don't even realize that. Anyway, okay. Let's start banning people. Let's just ban. Goodbye. Where's our mods, by the way? Remember when we used to have mods? And now it's just Taylor Packer. We need new mods.
Trevor and Arrow stepped in for a little bit.
Yeah, they were. Anyway. Trolls really have to ruin trade night. It's fine. It's fine.
It's all good.
It's a big live stream. We've been in here 2.5 hours. How can you get so negative when you just won? I don't get it, man. It's crazy. I just hop on the stream and first thing I hear is people getting banned. Yeah, we got Thunder fans that, like, I think it was dude that was in my mentions yesterday now coming in stream chat because he has nothing better to do after his team won a championship, so he's just trying to, like, you know, get under people's skin. Nothing better to do. I just joined. Do you think we keeping Jrue? Yes, I think the Blazers are keeping Jrue Holiday.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I think they're keeping Jrue Holiday. So if you're just joining, we've been live 2.5 hours. We talked about the trade for like almost 2 hours. At this point, the Blazers probably draft with 11. So Gavoni reported that the Thunder are aggressively trying to move up 4 or 5, maybe even 6 spots from 15. They have 24 and the 44th pick. We heard the rumor that the Blazers, or at least you shared.
They have 15, right?
Yeah, they have 15, 24, 44. So that could be a trade down target for the Blazers. Apparently they're looking at maybe picking up a second round pick. We'll see if they actually do it. Can we convince Jrue to re-sign for the low? I mean, he's going to be 37 before he resigns, so, like, yeah, he'll probably be cheap once he's 37. He'll probably retire after this contract, so I don't think there's going to be any re-signing.
Yeah.
I do wonder how Jrue feels about this. I mean, it's not like the Celtics were going to be contenders without Tatum anyway, right? So.
Yeah. He kind of knew he was going to be a cap casualty.
If you could trade up and get anyone else at the top 2, who would you do it for? Vijay Edgecombe. More defense. More defense, but he's my 3rd player on my board. Also, if you didn't want to go him, like, my next player for the Blazers would maybe be Knipple. Cronin would never be able to swing 11 for 15 and 24. Cronin would ask for 44 and Aaron Wiggins. Matt, $2 donation says, mod me. As you can see, I understand terms of service. Well, our terms of service is we will not be bribed. We thank you for the donation, but you cannot buy a mod spot.
Did you read his last message too? About
I missed one.
To TV basketball.
Yeah, shout out to Matt. He had a $5 donation as well. Says listening to TV basketball commentary that is not in game / play by plays. Basically brain rot. That's why we're here. Thanks, guys. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your donations, man. Some people think our content is brain rot as well, but I don't know. Like all the people that are in our chat, like talking trash. It's like they always have to make it personal. It's never really an argument about what we talk about. So that's what I've always realized. It's always just like a lot of people just like to be toxic. Taylor, I don't think anyone else is going to get as lucky as you did with that. Fleming at 15 would be cool. Yeah, that's the thing. If they trade out 11 to 15 and like cowards there and they take him, man, that's probably who I'd take at 11. And then get somebody at 24. I would not mind them trading down. At this point at 11, Eric, like my 2 guys. My 2 guys are Cedric Coward and Carter Bryant. Come back around a little bit on Carter Bryant. I want both those guys more than Demon. I want both those guys more than Fleming. I want both those guys more than Queen. The only guy that might be there that I would maybe take a chance on is Yakuchonis.
Not Demon.
I would take Cedric Coward and Carter Bryant over Demon.
With the Blazers, though.
I think the Blazers. I think they like Carter Bryant. Or you talked about that earlier, right?
Yeah, so the last two mocks on ESPN have us taking Yakuchonis in one and Carter Bryant in the other one. With the caveat, they were both with both Gavoni and Jeremy Wu alternating picks, and both times Wu was the one picking for the Blazers, not Gavoni. Every other mock draft prior to that had us taking Demon from Gavoni. So you could say that he's maybe, because there was a lot of stuff out there about, oh, he knows who we're picking. Look at who he's mocked to us in previous drafts, and it's all been correct. So maybe he saw some of that, and he's having Jeremy Wu pick for us, so it doesn't happen, or he doesn't.
He just released one of his own. He just released one of his own though, and he didn't have us taking Demon. I forget who he had, but there was actually a more recent one than that. Yeah.
There was two. His last two have both been with Wu. The one before that had us taking Demon. So
yeah, chat if you know Gavoni's last mock draft, I forget the name,
but it had us taking Carter today.
Yeah.
But yeah. Baby Malo became a member, thank you, and says $2.69 donation. Hey. And we want Wainwright.
Baby Malo, that's one of Gabe's. It was one of Gabe's minions. Thank you, Malo.
Man, what a flood by Gabe yesterday. Jeez.
I know, man. It had a free like 20K views on his lap and snoozed it. I was looking forward to his stream, man. It was funny. Did you watch his reaction to Sundo saying maybe Jalen Green can be a point guard?
I did not see the
Sundo
during the game.
My guy Sundo, man, he starts coping. Yeah. It was, what was the finals live stream? The first like 10 minutes of that was funny. Yeah. Sundo starts coping. He's saying maybe Jalen Green could, or he said maybe the Suns can turn him into a point guard. And Gabe was just like, who? It was funny. Yeah, so after like not having a real point guard 2 years ago and then bringing Tyus last year, they want to go back to not having a real point guard because I guess somehow that's going to fix things. I don't understand. Oh yeah, we were supposed to talk about that tonight. That I forgot about that. Yeah. What'd you think of the trade for them?
So first, I don't like it for the Suns. I mean, I guess it's okay under the circumstances. Getting the 10th pick is all right. Just don't take your next Jalen Smith instead of Halliburton. But for Houston, man, I was really leading the charge of don't trade for KD. You're gonna mess things up. But when I saw the package they gave up for him, got to keep Jabari Smith, got to keep Tari Eason, got to keep Reed Shepherd. I mean, they got to keep him in. Obviously, I felt like that was a no-brainer for Houston to add a scoring punch like KD. The one that's like their biggest weakness in the playoffs was just someone who can get them buckets, and they still have all their good defenders outside of Dylan Brooks, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was a great trade for Houston, despite KD's age. Usually, I don't like a team like that trading for an older player.
Yeah.
Like the Blazers trading for Jrue Holiday. But
You could make a case that they offloaded like 2 salaries that maybe they weren't high on anymore.
yeah.
Because Jalen
Right.
Green in the playoffs, like he had the 38-point game, but every other game he was basically a no-show.
Yeah.
It's just hard to rely upon him. And then Dylan Brooks, like, yeah, a solid player, but they have defensive pieces. They have Tari. They have a men. They didn't really need Dylan Brooks. So I agree with you. I think it's a A+ for them. I think it's a home run trade. Like, not trading any future first, not trading Jabari. Like, that's a dream trade for them. So on the Sun side of things, man, I think they have to trade Jalen Green. It's funny because it's like, oh, they want to keep Jalen Green and fit him with a book. Like, they're not going to flip him. And then tonight we got our version of that. Like, oh, we have Jrue Holiday now. We're not going to flip him. Like, it's just weird stuff. I don't think Green and Booker fit together. I mean, maybe you play them with like a big defensive point guard, but who are you going to get that's a big defensive point guard?
Jrue Holiday.
Delano Banton. Yeah, Jrue Holiday. I mean, even then, like those two guys at the 2 and the 3, it just, I feel like their offense might be taking turns. Those two guys, like just trying to create. I know their coach is supposed to be a good offensive coach who will get them flowing and playing off of each other, but I think that's going to be a challenge when your offense is Devin Booker and Jalen Green. Defensively, the question marks there. It's just a weird fit, so I don't like that they seem to have valued Jalen Green. For them moving forward, this might sound crazy, but I love Terrence Shannon Jr. Like, they should have taken the Timberwolves package. And a big reason why was because Dillingham or Terrence Shannon Jr., honestly, like,
then you got Gobert at center.
yeah, I think you have to go Dillingham there, but Terrence Shannon Jr., man, people need to not sleep on him going into next year if they lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like, he has a chance of replacing his role. Like, he had some good playoff moments. I was super high on him in the draft last year. I had him like 14th, 13th, late lottery, and he ended up going to end of the first round. Like, he's good. He's going to be a solid role player. So, Gobert would have given them their defensive anchor. Would have gotten the 17th pick as well. I probably would have taken the Timberwolves package. KD axed the Wolves deal. The report was that the Wolves were still offering that. So,
yeah, they were willing to risk it, it sounds like.
mm-hmm. KD definitely leveraged his way to Houston, but I also think that Phoenix maybe overvalued Jalen Green a little too much and turned out better packages. It was funny because I saw some Suns fans. Maybe Jalen Green can be our Halliburton. Was one of the comments I saw. It's just like, man, Booker's more of a point guard than Jalen Green is. And Suns fans don't want Booker as the point guard anymore, so I don't really know what their plan is. Anyway, we'll answer questions for 5 to 10 minutes and probably wrap up the stream. I mean, there's really nothing else to talk about, right? Like, crazy trade. That trade was shocking to read, man. How'd you find out about it?
Text.
Who'd you get a text
from a friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called Eric. I didn't know if he heard about it. I wanted to break the news to him. I broke the news to, I called Steven Vaughn.
Oh,
I broke the news to him.
Was he screaming?
No, but he does like the trade now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not surprised. But he was confused when I called him. But then he said, after talking to people, I like it now. So I don't know who he talked to. But I don't hate the move. I don't like the move. It's just very like,
Yeah.
Tori, thoughts on Hocevar? He deserves to win one soon.
Alex, my guy, for the last time, you have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Why are you so pissed off that the Cavs did not get
Yeah,
Jrue Holiday?
you're tripping, my guy.
Just because you ruined the Cavs in the mock-off season doesn't mean the real-life Cavs need to. Bro, like, honestly, just stay the course next year.
The East is wide open, yeah.
Hope you're healthy in the playoffs and you could win by default. Like, just because, man.
He's not like Garlandello. Yeah, I mean, he's basically overreacting to them losing in the playoffs. Darius is made of paper. All right, bro.
Yeah.
Darius played 75 games last year, 57 the year before, 69 the year before. What do you mean he's made of paper?
Just because you got less than half of what Memphis got for Desmond Bain in the mock-off season doesn't mean.
Yeah, Alex, my guy, you had a rough mock-off season, man. So we rooting for Ant to succeed in Boston? Yeah, I mean, why not?
Why wouldn't we?
I think that's a great situation for him to like become the best player he can be.
Why Zebra Brown can play the 3? He's fine. White, Pritchard, and Anfernee is a good 3-guard rotation. I don't know if Anfernee will start or not.
You know what we haven't talked about? Why were we the team giving up 2 second-round picks?
Well, you said second-round picks don't matter, so you can't.
It doesn't matter to the Blazers when they trade him for cash.
You're done.
Doesn't matter to the Blazers when they trade him for cash. If they use them, then they'd matter.
We traded for Damian Lillard. They had our 2025 first or second. We could have gotten that pick back and had the 40th pick right now, I think it would have been.
Yeah.
We didn't even get that back in the trade.
Gabe, probably, yeah. I feel like Boston should have been the team giving up seconds. But
yeah, as far as Anfernee goes, I mean, you guys know I like Anfernee, and we'll always have the comeback against the Kings his rookie year in the 82nd game to force us to have to play the Thunder instead of the who are we trying to play, or who did everyone want?
We're trying to play the Jazz.
The Jazz or something, yeah. And then that led to us making OKC the champion, I guess.
Yeah, so Ant's to blame for them being champion.
Yeah.
Because of that comeback. That's crazy.
Ant was here 7 years. Got to see him grow from a shy kid to the Anfernee, and just really good guy, and wish him the best. Yeah, I'm not there. I don't know why anyone would say they want Ant to like fall on his face or something like that. You'd be a pretty horrible person if you thought that. I don't know. I mean, you can root against him, but when the Blazers are playing against him, of course. But yeah. Thanks for everything, Anfernee. Hope you do well in Boston.
Yep. It seems like the consensus on this trade across the league is like the Blazers screwed up.
Yeah.
So Trevor Lane, host of Lakers Nation, he said he had a tweet that says, "Just like in the Porzingis trade the Celtics made years ago, the picks are going the wrong way. Unreal."
Yeah, people thought.
Here's the thing: Blazer fans will find a way to like it. Just like any move Cronin ever does, there's a section of people that'll find a way to like it, and then there'll be the people that come in here and say, "This is low-level basketball talk. Blazers won the trade."
Sorry, there's been. I mean, I met you on a forum in 2016 or 2017 or something like that. From even before that time, we've seen Blazer fans trying to trade for Jrue Holiday and stuff. Like there's a lot that are going to be very happy we acquired him finally.
Yeah.
For the second time, but yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Rucker, he's one of the hosts of No Ceilings. He's more positive. He says, "Jrue Holiday working with Scoot sounds awesome. Jrue Holiday unlocking the master level of defense for Toumani Camara sounds terrifying. Jrue Holiday just with the Trailblazers roster is very intriguing. And if you throw Carter Bryant in the mix..." Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the vision. That's the hope. I wouldn't mind taking Carter Bryant and just go all in on becoming a top 3 defensive team and then hope that Scoot and Sharp can become our number 1. And if not, hopefully those Bucks picks are good down the line, and then we trade for that guy and have like the perfect surrounding cast for when we do so. I kind of think that's the most realistic chance at getting to contention one day, given the state of where things are at right now. Would you agree with that?
Sorry, what was that part?
So I think at this point, the best path to contending in the future is just like go all in on building the best possible defense, like absolutely elite defense. Hope that Scoot or Sharp can become that number 1 guy. Like hope that Scoot becomes Halliburton or whatever. And then if they do or don't, you hope those Bucks picks are good, so you can maybe trade for that number 1 guy or trade for that number 2 guy if Scoot becomes the best case version of himself, like you trade for your Siakam to your Halliburton. And that's the thing, if you have all these great defenders that can also hopefully shoot and do some different things on offense, like a Carter Bryant would fit into Toumani as he continues to grow, Denny, etc. That's the perfect surrounding cast for whoever you trade for. That's the most realistic path to contention at this point with the way the Blazers have gone about this. Would you agree with that?
I guess. I think you have to have the offense too, as both the Pacers and Thunder showed. So
see, the Pacers were like a terrible defensive team last year, right? And then this year it caught up to their offense. Could the Blazers do the opposite of that? Build an elite defense and then hope the offense catches up and you have assets to help it do so.
That's harder to do.
Why are you arguing? This is why you didn't hear me the first time. You're arguing with the dude in chat, man. Doesn't have a basketball take, just wants to be toxic. We will ban him, Eric. Okay, just lay the ban hammer down. All right.
Yeah, but so Smog said that's basically what the Rockets were trying to do, but they added KD. That's
yeah. Smog, do you notice what's next to your name? Do you want to do the honors?
Toby Ryan, that couldn't be further off. He says Holiday and Grant both come off the books in 27-28, creating $70 million in cap space with Cronin being a cap guy. I think that's got to be one of the factors in this trade. No, it's a complete opposite. You're putting money on the books for 3 years that you didn't have. You could have created cap space sooner.
Yeah.
Plus, it doesn't necessarily mean it also depends on the other contracts. By that time, both Scoot and Sharp theoretically would have extensions. That offseason,
Tamani
Denny will
as well.
have to have an extension. Tamani will have had an extension by then, and then Klingon that offseason will also be up for an extension if he hadn't got one already. So, yeah,
Yep.
but we don't necessarily have cap space.
Yeah, like the Blazers
No
would
one
need to
played.
strike as soon as possible to take advantage of these guys being on cheap rookie contracts and Denny's contract being cheap as well, if they wanted to strike with cap space. Smog, you're supposed to perma. That's a perma ban. We gotta teach Smog the ropes of being a mod. Anyway. 1.8k seconds is weak. Anyway. Jrue should be a great mentor for Scoot and Shea and hopefully builds his value back so his contract is more tradable to a contender. That's my hope, man. That's the best case scenario. I do like that this trade is kind of a vote of confidence for Scoot and Sharp, getting them somebody that can mentor them and isn't a long-term answer at the guard spot. That's one of the things I like about this trade.
I don't understand why people are so hung up on retrading him. Or if he plays well, they're likely going to be in a playoff chase. They're not going to trade him at the deadline.
Isn't his deadline to opt in tomorrow for Thibault? Let me check. I would be pretty happy if he opted out. I'd be very surprised. Player option deadline 6/24. Yeah. The deadline for Thibault's player option is tomorrow. If he opts out, the Blazers have a full mid-level exception. They could always re-sign Thibault if you love Thibault. They could always re-sign him. But they would have a full mid-level exception opened up, and maybe they know he's going to opt out. I'm probably dreaming. He probably won't get that much.
They've already been discussing him in trades, like he's opting in.
Yeah, we'll see. So what would be the next trade for the Blazers, Eric? We'll end off the stream with this. Like, what else do they have left to do?
I mean, they still have what would likely be an acceptable package to get Cam Johnson.
I don't think they'll go after Cam Johnson. I think that's too...
I'm just saying.
I think that's too talked about. They trade for players that nobody talks about them getting. That's what they do. Denny, Jrue Holiday...
I don't think they're doing anything then.
Chat, who's the next player that Blazers trade for that like nobody ever talks about them getting? RJ Barrett? No. RJ Barrett was like, the Blazers were listed as the most likely team on a betting website, so. Zubac? Yeah. Corey Kispert. Got a couple Corey Kisperts. Got a Sabonis. People talk about Sabonis. People talk about Giannis. Beef stew. Yeah, I don't see, like, they're not going to get another center at this point, I don't think. Karl Anthony Towns. If the Knicks are looking to trade Cat, man, there you go. That would, if he was available, that would be a guy the Blazers, I think, would absolutely go after at this point.
Our CJ Jrue Holiday backcourt from like 2016.
That's why they got Jrue, is so that they could have Cat's defense, you know? They could cover for his defense. I don't think the Knicks will trade him. John Collins? I mean, that's the tough thing is like they had a need for Denny and then they didn't create a logjam with this Ant for Jrue trade. Trading for any 4 or 5, for any forward or big is going to create a logjam. Unless you're trading Grant, I guess. So like Grant and a pick for John Collins? I mean, I'd hate that, but...
Also, taking on salary in this trade, it doesn't necessarily mean we can't sign and trade, but it like makes the margins a little smaller to do a sign and trade because we don't have as much room to the hard cap then as we would have.
Like 13 million in room to the hard cap.
I'm saying we have. I'm saying it doesn't mean it won't, but I find it hard to believe if their plan was to have it like a sign and trade for Kuminga, who's going to get a big contract, like we'd be adding salary right now.
Well, it's like the tax is basically a hard cap for them, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, in taking on salary through this trade, like they are going to be hard capped at the first apron. But they weren't going to go into the tax anyway. So you basically just operate like how much room do they have below the tax? That's how much they could bring back in like a sign and trade. But then they couldn't add any salary after that. So if they have like roster spots to fill, you have to account for that. They're not gonna force themselves into the tax. I don't think. Maybe they would, but I would be very, very surprised. Dante DiVincenzo, I mean, he's kind of a guard, though, so I just don't see them creating a logjam. Gary Trent Jr. Is Carter Bryant the next Meta World piece?
That's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of a... I love the Fleece the Suns idea. What's the Fleece the Suns idea? I'm intrigued. Would the Suns even want to make another deal with us after the last one? Tori, since I said it, if we get Collins, ban me for a month. No, then you're just like me talking about us getting Kevin Knox and then getting Kevin Knox. So I respect it. The most Blazers-ish name I've seen thus far is John Collins. Yeah. I mean, but with Denny, Klingen, and Jrue, they're like going after defense. And John Collins isn't that. So I feel like it has to be a defensive player. If it's like in line with Avdia and then Jrue. The Kevin Knox moment of the 2023 deadline was so hilarious and epic. Yeah, that was fun. That was great. Klay Thompson. I mean, I've talked about them getting Klay Thompson. Yeah, more championship experience, Eric. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Thibault and Robert Williams to the... Well, they don't need Robert Williams, I guess, but they wanted Thibault. Anyway, we'll be live again tomorrow night, or if the Blazers make another pre-draft trade, we'll be live whenever they do that.
Unlikely.
Unlikely. We're going to have live streams on Wednesday and Thursday for the NBA draft. We'll cover every pick. So hopefully you can tune in for that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell button so you know when we go live. And hit the like button on the stream, easiest way to support the channel. Shout out to everybody who donated to I can't even talk anymore. We're 3 hours in. It's past midnight. I'm struggling. Shout out to everybody who donated. Appreciate the support. Can't believe the Blazers traded Ant for Jrue Holiday. That was Very unexpected, man. Now I guess I'll go watch Jrue Holiday highlights and think about him and Tamani locking up SGA and Jalen Williams together. Anything else?
We're gonna trade Robbo and Thibault for KCP now.
Okay.
And we're
shouldn't
gonna
have asked that. I shouldn't have asked
We're
that.
gonna give up. We're gonna give up 2 more seconds because why not?
I shouldn't have asked if you had anything else.
No, but thank you everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for supporting us, and hope to see you on the streams the next 3 days as well. Thanks for everyone who participated in chat as well. It's even though it got a little sideways at times, it's always fun when chat's popping. So thank you all.
Yep. Appreciate you guys. We're out of here. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and we'll have streams Wednesday, Thursday. Hopefully we can catch you for them. Blazers got Jrue. I can't believe I'm saying that. We're out of here. Until next time. As always, peace out. Go Blazers!